call if you see anything related to the disappearance. Sam Fritz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Rebounding is going to be the key to victory. That's the gospel being preached by Indiana Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle as he gets his team ready for the New York Knicks.
We got to rebound the ball. We need to rebound the ball before we run. We can't be cheating the process of rebounding basketball.
It's the Pacers and the Knicks in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semis tonight in the Big Apple. Tip-off at 7:30. Traffic on the 5s, Matt Baer.
Yeah, Curtin, still looking at the east side. Southbound 465, stop-and-go traffic. Penn Pike down to I-70. Northbound lanes, 465 are a little bit slow from East 56 up to 75th. It's a crash. Benford Boulevard at Kessler. Fisher's vehicle fire 121st Street east of Cumberland Road. South side northbound 37 slow roll Epler Avenue up to 465. Westbound 70 stop and go. After rural through the north split to Meridian Penn. Southbound 65 stop and go to downtown MLK 221st. Traffic sponsored by Mecum Auctions. Dana Mecum Spring Classic returns to the Indiana State Fairgrounds May 10th to the 18th with 3,000 muscle cars, classics, Corvettes, trucks, and more. Register to bid now at Mecum.com. I'm Matt Baer with traffic on the 5s. Follow us at WIBC Traffic.
On a map, the southern border is 1,000 miles away, but that's not how it feels to my family. I grew up in a blue-collar home in Richmond. My dad was a factory worker. He was laid off twice. Not because the factory was doing poorly, but because it was cheaper to move those jobs across the border. I'm Jamison Carrier. Today, it's not what's leaving across the border that's devastating our families. It's what's coming in. And once again, it's personal. My wife and I lost our son Joey to fentanyl, a tragedy that's become far too common. To President Biden, secure the border is just a talking point. But to our family, it's life and death. I'm Jamison Carrier. I'm a business owner, a native Hoosier, and a Trump Republican. And we can't wait another day to secure our border and put Americans first. I'm Jamison Carrier, and I approve this message.
Jamison Carrier for Congress. Paid for by Carrier for Congress, Inc.
The forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Good morning. Some on and off showers and thunderstorms through the day. Otherwise, mostly cloudy. A high of 73. Should be relatively quiet tonight. Mostly cloudy with a stray rumble of thunder. A low of 63. I'm with TV Storm Track 8's Marcus Bailey, 93 WIBC.
Mostly cloudy, 63 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC, powered by B&W Plumbing, HVAC, and Electrical, your American Standard air dealer.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Monday, May 6th. It is 7 minutes after 9. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Happy primary eve, Rob.
It's almost over, Casey.
Or is it just beginning?
It's almost over.
I think tomorrow we should put our endorsements out there.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. Well, every year I tell people who I vote for, and so I'd have absolutely, I might as well do it today. I'm sure I do it today, shouldn't I? I mean, people are going to vote tomorrow. So I should probably, you pick the time, sister.
Okay.
And I'll be more than happy to put out my list of my voting card.
Do you have your delegate list?
I could probably do that off the top of my head. Which, by the way, if you head over to the YouTube feed, you'll see my special sign for the day is my dear friend Bart Doan, who's running for delegate in Brownsburg. He is so into it. He actually got signs printed. And this is what I love about the primary this year. The most interesting thing,
it's not any of the candidates.
It's the delegates. It's the delegates. Yeah. You've got. I mean, the establishment is in such a panic now over Micah and this organized effort, and Micah's got close to 800 people running just to vote for him. That I got a copy of a text the establishment was sending out in Marion County. And what they're trying to do is, and here's how stupid these people are. So there's a whole bunch of people. This is how stupid the actual power structure of governance is. And it's amazing that if we could just get more people actively involved, how easy it would be to topple the whole thing. So Mike has got this list of delegates, and he's going over the whole state. And obviously, look, the most important thing you're going to vote on tomorrow are the delegates. You've got to find the people who are going to vote for Micah at the convention, because that is our best opportunity, whether it's property taxes, spending, government reform. You get him in there with the bully pulpit and all the new people he'll bring into the process. But he's recruited hundreds and hundreds of people, something like 800 people he knows specifically are running for him. Now, there's a whole bunch of people who haven't publicly pledged that because they're connected into the power structure. They don't want their name associated with it. They want to be left alone, whatever. Well, the establishment in Marion County is so stupid that they're operating. If you go to Micah's website, micahbeckwith.com, he's got a tab there of people that by county who he knows are running for him. The establishment is operating off the structure. If you're not on the list, you're not voting for him.
Yeah.
So they're sending out these mass lists to people going, these are the conservative Republicans you should be voting for. And the hilarious part of it is there's a bunch of people who I know are voting for Micah who are on the list. But then it's like one of the lists had Jefferson Shreve on it. If you want a conservative Republican, Casey, you better vote for Jefferson Shreve. When in the mayor's race, Jefferson Shreve went out of his way to tell you he's a moderate Republican.
Exactly.
These people could. The Marion County GOP is a joke, and they couldn't organize a clown car if their life depended on it. And I just love the chaos because that's what our government needs right now. They need agents of chaos infused into the system, and I love the chaos that Micah has created and how he's got the establishment scrambling, and gosh darn it, people, we need to reward that sort of behavior tomorrow.
I've got some interesting votes in the 7th district.
Yeah, you sure
That's
do.
Andre Carson's district, but somebody who's also running is Honest Gabe Whitley, and we've got a bunch of information coming out later in the show about him. And
yeah, that's right. We got a whole...
Somebody else on the ballot running in the 7th isn't even with us anymore.
The Marion County GOP is such a colossal train wreck. And yeah, Abdul's going to be with us at 10:15. I was out on Friday, and so Abdul and I went on a little adventure down south together, and we'll tell our audience where we went and what we did. But yeah, we'll do whenever you want. I'll do my little list of people that I voted for, and I'll be happy to tell you why. And this has been a very disappointing primary season, and I think that governor's race is at the top of the list. Where, let's face it, Braun's the probably still the front runner. He'll probably win by 5 to 10 points when it's all said and done, and you have no idea what any of his policies are going to be. You have no idea. Mike Braun has not been pinned down and held to account on a single solitary ad. When he was on Hammer and Nigel and they asked him about property taxes, he might as well have been speaking Chinese. Like, he didn't want any part of that. He didn't answer any questions.
Yeah, it was almost like, wait a minute, I thought we were talking about the border. You guys want to know about property taxes? You want to know about something that affects Hoosiers here in Indiana? Wait a minute, I've been working on something else.
So why would you think, if you have a guy, and this is the question I asked to every Braun voter, and look, there's some people who are just Braun fans. They have a political interest. They have connective interest. They have personal interest. But if you're a run-of-the-mill voter, and Mike Braun's track record as a state rep and a U.S. senator is two things: growing government and spending a lot of money. Like, you look at 40-plus tax increases in the General Assembly, voted for that gas tax, the largest tax increase in the history of the state, doubled down on it during the debate, has no idea, it appeared, that the gas tax goes up every year, and then the voting to print the money during COVID, and his excuse was, well, everybody else did it too. Why would you think he'd do anything different as your governor? Like, I don't understand why people think that Braun is going to be some conservative anything. His track record of governance is anything but.
Yep, Braun is running on the name Braun. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. It's 93 WIBC. Let's talk about what's going on with IU. The ACLU of Indiana has filed a lawsuit against on behalf of 3 protesters who were banned for a year for participating in these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests on Dunn Meadow down at IU. Now, they had the graduation over the weekend.
They got through it?
Yes, they did get through it, and I haven't heard that there were any big shenanigans that happened. But there is this lawsuit, and this comes after more than 56 people were arrested. However, this lawsuit that the ACLU is filing on behalf of 3 protesters.
Okay, so this is what's amazing to me is, well, I shouldn't say amazing. Nothing really amazes me anymore. But you have the right to free speech. That's absolutely true. You, as a law-abiding citizen of this country, have the right, if you so choose to do so, to say, I think Israel is evil and Israel should be wiped off the earth, and I think Hamas is wonderful And I think all those Israeli children and women who were slaughtered by Hamas, I think that's a great thing. You absolutely have the right to say that. What you don't have the right to do, I mean, as insane as that is, you have the right to do it. What you don't have the right to do is disrupt society. You don't have the right just to go, well, I feel like pitching a tent right here. I feel like blocking the street. I feel like breaking into buildings. Not to saying, I don't think IU is at anywhere near like a Columbia has in terms of people breaking into buildings, but I'm saying these things are happening on college campuses across the country, and you don't have the right to do that. Disrupting society is not freedom of speech. I have the ability to come on here and say whatever I want about these politicians. I don't go to a Mike Braun rally. Let's just use Braun because I just ripped on him. I don't go to a Mike Braun rally and start throwing things or pitching a tent in the middle of the venue that he's having his rally at, or, threatening people, because that's not freedom of speech. And so this seems like a huge misunderstanding of what freedom of speech actually is.
Yeah, exactly. And two of the people, they're appealing their campus bans, and they've received a temporary stay, which is allowing them to stay on campus. And the ban is for a year. And they say that, they're really disappointed in the university because they feel the university is determined to prevent them from speaking their minds. No, the university is not trying to prevent them from speaking their minds. It's trying to prevent them from breaking the law. And you mentioned Columbia over the weekend on Saturday Night Live. Of course, they did a skit about that. And here's the part where one of the parents, who is a supposed parent from a Columbia college student, shares his thoughts on the campus protest.
Man, I ain't worried about 5-0. That is not my business. My business is Alexis Vanessa Roberts, okay? She ain't talking about no free this, free that, because I tell you what ain't free, Columbia. Shoot. Do y'all know that they got the nerve to want $68,000 a year?
And that's just it. A whole lot of money for some students who want nothing to do with any of this nonsense, yet they're being affected.
Yeah, again, I mean, I get freedom of speech, and nobody's a bigger proponent of freedom of speech than I am, but there is a huge difference between I want to say what I want as long as I don't threaten to harm anyone, and I'm going to totally disrupt society and be an agent of chaos, like in the physical flesh.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a new poll out, and it says that more Americans trust Donald Trump on the economy and inflation than they do Joe Biden. Are you surprised by that? We'll get into it next on 93 WIBC.
This could be one of the most consequential elections in our lifetime.
Who will be our next president? Next senator? Governor?
And just as important,
who will represent us in the General Assembly?
You have a voice with your one vote.
Unhappy with the current state of affairs?
You can do something about it.
Voting is one of our most important rights as Americans.
It's how you can stand up for your beliefs,
your values,
and for future generations.
You can vote now through primary day, May 7th.
From 93 WIBC and Urban One.
It's time for a change in Indiana and Washington, D.C. Our leaders have lost their way, and it's time to send a Green Beret to fix it. After September 11, when our nation was reeling from terror attacks, Charles Bookwalter stood up and said, "Send me." Charles Bookwalter served as a Green Beret overseas in combat, earning a Bronze Star for his service. And now, as our leaders in D.C. recklessly spend us into generational debt and send trillions overseas, Charles Bookwalter is standing up again to say no. No to open borders and illegal immigrants. No to endless wars. And no to endless spending. It's time for a new generation of Republican leaders to step up and continue their service. Because Washington is broken, and only a Green Beret like Charles Bookwalter can fix it. Vote Charles Bookwalter for Congress. Paid for by Green Beret PAC, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Retirement. When you picture your retirement, what do you see? Travel, relaxation, hobbies, more time with the people you love? Or are you met with uncertainty and concern? Whatever emotion the word retirement conjures up for you, Howard Bailey Financial is ready to help. Our financial advisors are not just experts in retirement strategies, they are your partners in crafting a personalized retirement plan that aligns with your dreams and aspirations. At Howard Bailey, we prioritize one thing above all else, your peace of mind. Don't leave your retirement planning to chance. Instead, call 866-482-9559 now. to schedule your personal financial review and see how Howard Bailey can help give you confidence in your retirement goals. Again, call 866-482-9559.
This endorsement was not provided by a client of Howard Bailey. This individual was compensated for this endorsement. For more information, visit howardbailey.com/TS1.
President Trump knows if you need backup to get a job done, you need a fighter. That's why President Trump is endorsing proven conservative combat veteran Jim Baird. Baird served our nation in the United States Army and was awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze with Valor Star. And when Baird got home, he didn't stop serving us. Jim Baird worked as a farmer and small business owner, creating jobs and growing our economy. Then Baird served Indiana as a state representative where he fought to safeguard our community. Now Baird is serving Hoosiers in Congress and will partner with President Trump to secure our border, build the wall, deport criminal illegal aliens, curb inflation, cut government spending, defend our God-given Second Amendment rights, and defeat the radical left. Help send President Trump the backup he needs to drain the swamp. Send Trump-endorsed conservative combat veteran Jim Baird for Congress.
I'm Jim Baird, and I approve this message. Paid for by Elect Jim Baird for Congress.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
If you have breathing triangle issues like compromised nasal breathing and sleep, snoring, or even sleep apnea issues, a call to Advent makes sense. Because breathing well will help you live better.
Don't want the worry of maintaining your furnace or air conditioner? Join B&W's Premier Club today. Visit bplusw.com/radio to learn more. B&W is your independent American Standard air dealer.
So coming up in our next segment, we're going to hear from the Tippecanoe County Assessor. Eric Grossman is going to join us, and this is fascinating because this is an assessor, a guy who's in the system, and he's telling us this system's broke.
I love this interview. I saw somebody alerted me that there was some local Lafayette publication who did an article about this guy. Again, his name's Eric Grossman. He's the Tippecanoe County, easy enough for me to say, assessor. And his whole premise is, hey, this whole assessment system is totally flawed. Challenge the assessments we're giving you. And I said, this guy is perfect for our show because he's saying he is the thing, and he's saying all the things
that we've been
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming up at 9:30, we're going to have him on. He's going to talk about why the system's flawed. He's going to talk about how you appeal, about some of the things maybe you can try to do in your appeal. So great guess. I'm totally excited about having him on because he is saying the things.
Yeah. Well, right now, more Americans say they trust Donald Trump on the economy and inflation more so than President Biden. And here's the interesting thing about this is that for a long time, the top concern among voters was the border.
Yeah.
And that has since changed. And now, according to this ABC News poll, they found that the economy and inflation were among the top issues, especially for the upcoming presidential election.
I think that's going to be the thing. I think the border, when there's events that happen, I think it rehits, is that even a word? It hits people again that the border's a crisis point. Like when as Joe Biden called her, Lincoln Riley, also the USC football coach,
right?
When she was murdered by an illegal immigrant, I think that resonated with people, right? Like this guy crossed the border illegally, broke the law. He goes to a sanctuary city. They catch him and let him go. He breaks the law. They let him go. He goes there. He kills. We have ample opportunity to catch and prevent this. And so people go, oh my gosh, yeah, that's still a thing. But the inability to afford food, the inability to, find affordable housing, automobiles, these things hit people every single day.
And everyone.
It's like I had an opportunity Tuesday. I'd only planned on working one day this week, and I had an opportunity pop up that's going to require me to work 7 or 8 hours Tuesday when I get off, but it's a lot of money. And my wife and I had this conversation, and I told her, I said, look, it's your choice. I said, if you say, hey, don't do it, I need you at home, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to break my heart. But I said, here's the amount of money I can probably make doing this. And she's like, well, that sucks, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is where we're at in society, where we're basically turning into one of these countries where people are working 60, 70 hours a week now in order to get by.
Yeah, you're making the choice, spending time with your family or actually paying for your family to have the ability to live.
Yeah, and like, again, I'm not a sympathetic figure, Casey, and I get that people aren't going to cry for me, but my story is millions of people's story that aren't named Rob Kendall. That's pathetic that in this country, when you have responsible people who aren't, hanging out to the Bellagio every weekend, that they're having to work you got two people working a full-time job, and you got to go work a part-time job, and then you got to make choices. I had a conversation with a kid who far smarter than me, one of my young guys that works at the golf course, and he is at the the Kelly School of Business.
Okay.
So this is a guy who clearly intellectually is, superior to anything I could ever dream of being, and I think he's a very, very high-ranking student. And we were talking about this, that just from a data standpoint, like take away the emotion of the whole thing. And we were talking about inflation, and we were talking about spending and all these things. And we were just saying from the data standpoint. So this is an analytical guy, and it doesn't, and this is a young person getting ready to enter the system who's being taught the economy and the modern economy. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like the way our government is operating just makes zero sense. If you know inflation's a thing, and inflation is driven primarily by out of control government spending,
stop spending.
But yet then you have the government printing $90 billion to give to other countries. It doesn't make any sense to anyone. And that is directly the fault of the government. That's not COVID. That's not supply chain. That's you people printing money.
And that kid is looking at not as great a job market as a few years ago.
Well, that's another thing we were talking about, because I said, like not to be old man in the room, but I said, hey, Skippy, 10 years ago, you were, punching your ticket if you're out of the Kelly School of Business. And he said, I couldn't even find an internship this summer. He said, it took me forever to find an internship. And I think what's happening is more and more people now are staying in the workforce longer because they're recognizing this, which is backing everything up. And it's coming all the way down the chain now to where it's harder for kids to even find internships because these companies are like, well, I can't pay you to have an internship because I'm still paying Fred, who Fred didn't elevate because Sam is still here, and Fred's kind of doing the work an intern would do. And so everybody, even the interns, are getting crushed by the Biden economy.
Coming up later in this show, we're going to talk about how much the average American has in their retirement savings, and it's
$7.
And it's split down by age even, and how much you actually should have. We'll see how you stack up. But according to this ABC News poll, it's overwhelming. 88% of Americans in the survey said that it was the economy. That was the most important factor when deciding who they're going to vote for, and 85% said that it was inflation. By the way, Donald Trump leads on this with 46% compared to Biden, who's at 32%. And here's the funny part, 21% said they don't trust either one. Neither of the front runners on the issue. So you've got this key important issue that the majority of people agree is the problem, yet there's a quarter of people who are like, and I don't like either of my choices.
Well, and I know we got to get to a break, but let's just take inflation for a second. If inflation is your issue, then you shouldn't like either side, because both sides have equally
spent the money
irresponsibly.
Contributed to the problem.
Now, have the Republicans been a little bit better in terms of common sense things like oil production and not having wacko, crazy environmental regulations that have hurt the economy? Absolutely. But that's like saying, well, this 55% F is better than this 32% F. I mean, it's both epic failures of the American people.
All right, joining us next, Eric Grossman, Tippecanoe County Assessor, and it's on the way with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
She isn't working for us, so who is Victoria Spartz working for in Congress? Victoria Spartz said she'd fight the radical left, but spoke in defense of the squad's Ilhan Omar and refused to officially condemn Rashida Tlaib after her hateful, anti-Semitic statements. While there's an invasion on our southern border, Spartz votes to send $40 billion of our tax dollars to Ukraine. Victoria Spartz also says she stands with President Trump. Truth is, Spartz stated it's irrelevant who the president is and helps the Biden administration pass their agenda. Chuck Goodrich is an America First conservative. Chuck built a business that hires and builds American. And Chuck voted to end sanctuary cities. Chuck puts our national defense first by banning any Chinese presence near our military and National Guard bases. Chuck Goodrich fights for our values, voting to protect female sports and keep biological males from competing against young women in Indiana. Vote Chuck Goodrich for Congress. Paid for by Go With Chuck Goodrich.
I'm Chuck Goodrich, a candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Guys, let's talk game. Practice just wrapped up with the annual spring game. Your team looks promising this fall, but how's your game? Testosterone therapy can help you get back to your best, and spring is the time to start. We recommend Low T Center.
They make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you feel tired, if you've seen weight gain, loss of muscle mass, could be low T. And lowtcenter.com is the place where you book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Well-changing question. Are you keeping as much of your investment gains as possible? High taxes can erode returns quickly, so you need a tax-optimized portfolio. At Creative Planning, our money managers and specialists work together to make sure your portfolio and wealth are managed in a tax-efficient manner. It's what you keep that really matters. Why not give your wealth a second look? Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
The problem at our border is not complicated. You know that. The real problem is Congress. They say the right thing, but when it comes to it, well, they sell out. Jefferson Shreve takes nothing, owes no one, and can't be bought. Shreve will finish the wall and fund more patrols. And if they came here illegally, he'll send them back. That's Shreve's plan. Common sense, straightforward, do what needs to be done kind of thinking. And Mike Speedy? Yeah, he's the guy posing at the border in his ads, but he paid tuition for illegals with our tax money. And he gave them driver's licenses too. So how can we trust anything he says on immigration or anything else? And he's taken hundreds of thousands from lobbyists, selling out. So if you care about the border, vote for the guy who can't be bought. Law, order, and a secure border. Jefferson Shreve for Congress.
I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Shreve for Congress.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It's another day in court. Mostly cloudy, some showers on radar, 64 on Monument Circle. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. That being for former President Donald Trump as his criminal hush money trial continues in New York. Trump is accused of falsifying business records to cover up possible payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 election. A member of his once close inner circle, former White House aide Hope Hicks, took the stand on Friday. President Biden is hosting the King of Jordan at the White House, and they're likely to talk about Gaza. Fox's Jared Halpern.
Jordan's King Abdullah will have lunch with President Biden here. The meeting is described as private and informal, but it comes as a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas appears to be at an impasse. Israel is directing tens of thousands of civilians to evacuate parts of Rafah in southern Gaza, where a major ground invasion has long been planned. King Abdullah has criticized Israel's tactics in Gaza. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC, brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. A good start to the week. The Dow is up 154 points at the opening bell to 38,986. The NASDAQ up 65 to 18,065. And the S&P 500 is up 22 to 5,176. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 40th, she deserves more. Shop tons of stunning on-trend jewelry for every budget at Diamonds Direct. Diamond fashion jewelry, beautiful birthstones, everyday pearls starting at just $200. Commemorate the real loves of her life with a gorgeous pendant featuring the birthstone of the one who made her mom. This Mother's Day, Diamonds Direct has everything you need to say thank you. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. Online at diamondsdirect.com.
Dear driver, thank you. Thank you for slowing down when you saw the orange cones and road construction signs. My husband is one of those road workers. And today, you saved his life. If you hadn't slowed down, you would have missed that lane change, driven right into the work zone, and you would have killed him. Because you were driving differently. He'll be at our son's Little League game this weekend. He'll be there to walk our daughter down the aisle. He'll be out there tomorrow, making Indiana's roads safer. Thank you.
When driving in a construction zone, be smart, be alert, be in the zone.
This is Ray Hobbs, business manager of Labor's Local 741. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Indiana's District Council of Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Bill Frazier is a Hoosier, an American, who has served our citizens with distinction, determination, and a wisdom that comes with years of experience. Now, Bill Frazier is ready to dedicate his life to serving you as your next congressman in Indiana's 6th District. Bill Frazier is a true conservative. He'll fight for a secure border, smaller government, and lower taxes. He will be a tireless advocate for the Second Amendment and the rights of the unborn. Bill Frazier is a veteran paratrooper, a successful farmer and business owner, a licensed commercial jet pilot, a man with experience. When President Ronald Reagan needed expert advice on agricultural issues, he called on a young Hoosier farmer, Bill Frazier. Ronald Reagan trusted Bill Frazier. You can too. Vote for experience and determination. Vote for the true conservative Hoosier. Vote for Bill Frazier for Congress.
I'm Bill Frazier, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Bill Frazier.
This week at Sullivan Hardware and Garden, see our great selection of grills. We have Weber, Traeger, the Big Green Egg, and all the accessories.
93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's here. Casey, I don't know if you're aware, but people are really upset about the property tax assessments.
I've heard something about that as more and more people are getting those in the mail.
Well, and I think one of the things, and you and I obviously have been pounding this drum for several years now, and even before that, it's just a very screwy system, and there appear to be kind of no institutional controls over how high the property taxes can go. And obviously, we've reached a point where many people, the fixed income people, the older people, are really starting to get worried about losing their houses because they can't pay the property tax.
Yes, that's true.
And not all heroes wear capes, Casey. Mm-hmm. And I think we have found a hero in the, of all places, Tippecanoe County property tax assessor. His name is Eric Grossman. I saw a very interesting piece from a publication up in Lafayette where he was saying, as the county assessor, hey, you people need to challenge your assessments. And it's been the same thing we've been saying about don't just take the government's word for it. Make them earn it. Make them play the game. And maybe you get a few coins knocked off your assessment. And so I saw this really fabulous article about Eric Grossman, the Tippecanoe County assessor, and I reached out and said, hey, would you like to come on the show? And he said, absolutely.
Tell me more.
Yeah, you're great for us. Hey, Eric Grossman joins us now on the WIBC hotline. So, Eric, tell us why you as the assessor who's doing the assessing are saying, hey, people, you need to challenge your assessments.
Well, it's like you guys said, it's a kind of a wonky or a screwy system sometimes, but I got involved because I appreciate the kind of separation of how it's been implemented in Indiana, where the assessor values property as a way to distribute tax liability. And I always thought that there was merit to that. And it's based off this case law in the late 90s where they threw out the old system and implemented this era of market value. And that's kind of why I got involved in this field. I consider myself kind of a market value nerd. And then since recently, especially since COVID, there's been all these kind of carve-out laws that affect the way property is assessed in Indiana and shift tax burdens. And in Indiana, one thing that was really important and determinative in the previous St. John litigation that set up the system we have now was Article 10 of the Indiana State Constitution that guarantees uniform and equal levels of assessment. And so when the assessors are barred legally from carrying that out, it was really kind of my staff and I's joint opinion that, if we can't determine market value, it's kind of what we signed up for, and we have all these caveats that determine different levels of assessment for different property types. When we take an honest look at the numbers, it's a really skewed system. And like you guys were pointing out, it burdens homeowners. especially people on fixed income. And we're the face of this thing. We're the people that hear from them the most, and it just doesn't feel good in the community we live in to implement a tax system that we don't personally believe is fair.
Eric Grossman is our guest. He's the Tippecanoe County assessor who is telling people, I love this, saying, hey, I'm the assessor, but challenge those assessments. So Casey and I had talked about this last week. I had challenged my assessment. Mine was way higher than my neighbors. We have very similar houses, built the same year. I called over to the assessor's office, and within 3 minutes, I said, oh, yeah, hey, we caught this error, and they corrected it. And I told the lady on the phone, I said, I feel so bad for you guys because you're just trying to implement the crappy system the state has given you, and yet I feel like the assessor's office kind of gets the brunt of the bad decisions the legislature's making.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's my name on that notice of assessment people are getting, and we thought it was important this year to say, hey, if we're the face of this system, we need to tell people that there's substantial flaws in it that we think have gotten to the point of literally violating their Article 10 constitutional rights, and saying you need to speak up and do something because, we're unable to, we like to think that we're the liaison between the community and the state and the DLGF, but when we're unable to affect equity due to the systems in place, we thought it was important to get the message out.
I get the feeling that you must feel like you're Matthew, the tax collector from the Bible. Like, this is just my job. I have to do it. But what can people do to, question their assessment?
The assessment statutes provide a lot of different relief. I think the first thing to do is just look at the property record card and just make sure that they have good data, and then ask yourself, if you both agree on what physically exists, I think the question is it worth that? And then that was always the primary question, but now I think there's this other question of, even if the value is right, is me being at market value when so few other properties are at their market value, is that fair? Is that constitutional? And with the specific fairness clause of the Constitution, we're of the opinion that it's not.
Eric Grossman's our guest. He's a Tippecanoe County assessor, telling everybody, hey, challenge your assessment. I think this is a fascinating interview. So are you surprised, because we've heard all these people running for governor on the Republican side, they're all acknowledging, oh, we hear about this more than anybody else. You see these state house and state senate people up for re-election. They say, oh, we're hearing about this all the time. And you're saying, as a county assessor, hey, this system's basically complete crap. Are you surprised at the lack of action that's taken place from our elected officials when clearly they're acknowledging this is the thing everybody's worried about?
Not yet. I think it remains to be seen how the legislature will ultimately react. As you guys said, this system is fairly incomprehensible. We're talking now about the constitutionality of valuation subsidy, but the same Article 10 that talks about, fairness also talks about the ability to establish exemptions and deductions, and circuit breaker rate caps are in that same article, and tax credits. And so there's so many different ways on the books legitimately to subsidize different assessments that are used that then we have all these subsidy laws that hit before that part of the tax bill. They hit before any of the deductions, exemptions, et cetera. And so I think it's just such an incomprehensible system, even to a lot of the legislature, that I think we'll see how they deal with or react to some of the input from assessors and the public too. But I generally think people are starting to understand that the system really is construed against them, and there does need to be some sort of equity in practice, not just in wording.
Eric, are you surprised at how, there's not education for the voter, right? I mean, you get that form in the mail, and it's a uniform thing that all the county assessors have to send out. I was in local government as an elected official, and I look at this and even struggle to read it and understand it. Is part of the problem that the average person gets that assessment and they have no idea what it says, and they might understand that their property taxes went up, but you gotta scan a QR code. You've got to read this fine print. You've got to go here and download this to appeal. Is the whole process too complicated?
I believe it's bordering on that. I don't believe that's why it's unconstitutional, but just from a good tax policy standpoint, it is too hard to understand what the assessment means and how to gauge it in context with other assessments in your tax district that ultimately affect your tax bill.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what so we'll get you out of here with this, because when I called over for my assessment, that wasn't even the formal appeal. It was before you make a formal appeal. Hey, help me understand what happened. And the lady was very nice that she admitted, hey, we made a clerical error. So I was hoping, Eric, maybe just high level, if you could tell our audience what you think are the processes. Should people call first? Then should they appeal? What way should people work through the actual appeals process?
I can speak really specifically to Tippecanoe County, because, we are basing the call to action based on our specific county, and we put tools in place online that specifically when you go to the assessor's website, it says, file a value-based appeal, file an equity-based appeal, and we've streamlined it to where you don't have to come to the office. You can do it all online. I think, just filing an appeal, not everyone's going to have a good equity appeal. It depends on your taxing district, the makeup of property in your taxing district, what your level of assessment is, how you're being assessed. I mean, there's a lot of factors to it. But if there is going to be relief, you're not going to be entitled to it without an appeal. And so, to my fellow assessors, the idea is not to inundate local assessors' offices with equity-based appeals, but basically to send a message to the legislature that people require an equitable system and will exercise their rights to achieve it. But to answer your question, the best way to appeal is online for the counties that have an online system. Otherwise, the DLGF, Department of Local Government Finance, has a website with the appeal form. It's the Indiana State Form 130 that can be mailed to any assessor's office. Usually you could call and email them too and ask questions, and they usually have contacts on their website. But generally, we were really speaking from, you should appeal Tippecanoe County's assessment because we are aware specifically of equity issues we couldn't solve. As far as other assessors, we believe these same inequities exist across the state because they're legislatively driven. And we've requested data from our counterparts, and we are confident that this is not an isolated incident in Tippecanoe. We do believe these are systemic issues. We urge people to stand up for themselves.
I love somebody inside the system, and this has been a great interview. Eric Grossman, the assessor for Tippecanoe County, saying, hey, this is crap. We got to fix it. Eric, man, I think thanks for being a voice out there. It's bold for a guy in the position to say, hey, there's flaws with the system I oversee. And, man, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to tell us about it today.
And I appreciate you guys getting the message out there.
Eric, I have one last question, and that's about the appeal process. How long does it typically take from start to finish?
It really depends. What you guys described as that discussion over the phone with the clerk who was able to just affect change, that's actually a legal part of the process in Indiana called the informal discussion. It's informal, but the law requires an informal discussion. And then from there, there's hearings, there's a local property tax review board, the Indiana Board of Tax Review, and the Supreme Court. And basically, it kind of depends on how fast the county wants to get through them. But with respect to the equity appeals, we're asking people to file in our county. We're fairly confident these will get through the local process in a matter of weeks or months. And the true power to effect change lies with the Indiana Board of Tax Review, the highest arbiter of fact, who will try whether inequity truly exists. And then the Indiana Tax Court is the highest arbiter of tax law, basically, who will determine if these regulations are unconstitutional or not, ultimately. And so to get it to those, based on the nature of what we're claiming, could be a lengthy process. And every year stands alone, too. So it could be a multi-year process, definitely. But, yeah, we hope people understand that, it's not necessarily easy, but we think it's worth it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Eric Grossman. This is the Kendall and Casey Show. It's 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel Show, back at it. Pacers, big game tonight. We'll have the top stories in Indy. We're going to laugh. We're going to have a good time. We'll talk to you at 3, 93 WIBC.
TheBathAuthority.com, TheBathAuthority.com. Hey, everybody, it is Rob from my friends at The Bath Authority. And right now, if you call The Bath Authority, 317-532-5711. That's 317-532-5711. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and they're going to take an incredible $1,500. That's right, $1,500 off a new shower bath plus, and this is an incredible deal as well, 36 months of interest-free financing. Restrictions apply. But you got to call today, The Bath Authority, at 317-532-5711. The Bath Authority does it all. Walk-in tubs, replacement showers, tub-to-shower conversions,
and more, and it comes with a lifetime warranty. 317-532-5711 to get $1,500 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. See it all for yourself. TheBathAuthority.com, TheBathAuthority.com. Tell them Rob sent you.
Hoosiers have a choice on who they send to Washington and deserve to know the facts before voting. Jefferson Shreve caves to the radical left on our values and is a never-Trump moderate. Jamison Carrier, well, he filed for bankruptcy, owing thousands in tax liens, claims his primary residence is in Florida, voted there this last election. I'm Mike Speedy, and I approve this message. By the grace of God, I beat cancer, and with your help, we can beat these lying politicians and save America.
Mike Speedy is the only candidate who is both endorsed by Indiana Right to Life and is A+ rated by the NRA. Mike Speedy endorses President Trump and will join him to fix our border once and for all. Mike Speedy will fight the woke leftists to guarantee life and liberty. Speedy has a track record of fighting and winning. Vote Republican Mike Speedy in Indiana's 6th Congressional on or before May 7th. Paid for by Mike Speedy for Congress.
I'm Mike Speedy. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Broken bricks, falling fences, damaged doors, Gorilla Glue. Of course. It's incredibly strong and 100% waterproof and bonds, well, virtually everything. While you're at it, look for Gorilla Tape, a heavy-duty double-thick duct tape, and Gorilla Super Glue, great for all your quick fixes and repairs. There's also Gorilla Epoxy, Gorilla Wood Glue, Gorilla Construction Adhesive, of course. You get it. If you can break it, Gorilla can fix it. For the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password.
For you to become a victim.
LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to LifeLock.com.
Building a better future for Hoosiers is going to take an outsider. Brad Chambers is the only candidate for governor who's not a career politician. And only Brad Chambers built a national business from nothing. As Secretary of Commerce, Brad Chambers broke records for job growth all across the state. Jobs with wages higher than ever before. Because of Brad Chambers, higher wages are on the way. And only Brad Chambers can keep them coming.
Paid for by Chambers for Indiana.
All right, coming up next hour, we're going to find out, are you going to pull the lever for the deceased person in protest?
I don't know. Maybe.
That's the hardest choice Casey has to make in Marion County because the Marion County Republican Party is so inept and puts forward such terrible candidates is whether Casey is going to vote for the deceased person in protest.
Either that or the guy who allegedly defames my co-host on this radio program. So these are the options that I have. Cool.
It is.
Let's vote.
I mean, it is just a cavalcade of awful in the Marion County GOP. So next hour, I will do my full ballot. I'll work through the whole thing with people, tell you the ones I left blank, tell you who I voted for. We do this every year.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm a totally open book, Casey. And I said, well, Casey, let's work through yours as well. And look, as bad as my choices are.
Do you feel bad for me?
And as disappointed as I am in my choices, at least I don't have your ballot.
I know.
Now I would totally vote for the deceased person just because I think that would be hilarious to watch the other guy lose to the deceased person. He's going to lose either way, but to lose not only legitimately to the person alive, but also to the deceased person. But you've got to handle it however you want to handle it. So,
well, neither have earned my vote, actually. So
we are at crisis point in this country in terms of the quality of candidates that we have running for public office.
There's a couple that are worth a vote.
Other than the delegates.
And one I can't even vote for, and I would say that's Charles Bookwalter.
Well, that's right. I'm voting for Bookwalter.
I can't vote for him.
Look, I went through the ballot again yesterday. There's not one vote I'm casting where I feel like the person has really earned my vote. They're all they're all just protest votes, mostly against the incumbents.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting my delegate votes together. So as we've mentioned before, that's That's the entire reason to go vote.
So coming up next hour, I'm going to work through with Casey whether voting for the dead person or the alive person to protest vote the other person is the better choice.
The lesser of two evils, I guess.
What aren't you excited for this to be done because it's been so disappointing? It's been so disappointing this year.
Yeah, I think listeners are probably excited to hear an end to all the political ads.
I went to that. Obviously, I was out Thursday, and next hour, Abdul will be with us to talk about where I was Friday and where I was Friday related to what I did Thursday. But I went to that Hamilton County Lincoln Day dinner.
We haven't gotten a recap on that.
And, we can talk about that too. But it's like one of the things they did is they had the candidate. The Crouch was there. She got up and spoke. And then they had all these candidates for the 5th Congress, the 3 frontrunners. Raju. By the way, Raju.
Did you sing?
Raju came up on stage to his theme song.
Did he?
I said, what a boss
Why
move
wouldn't he?
by Raju.
He paid for that jingle. Use it.
He had some sort of blinking something on his, I don't know if it was his name or
Blinking
what.
pin?
Yeah, that was very distracting.
A button?
But it was like him, and it was Sparts and Goodrich, and they're getting up there, and they all sounded
Were they
like
fighting?
Well, they gave them 5 minutes each, and they all sounded like are you familiar with the show The Office, Casey?
Yes.
Kevin, are you familiar with the TV show The Office?
Yeah, I am.
There's a famous episode where Dwight gets Salesman of the Year, and he has to give this big speech in a ballroom in front of the other Dunder Mifflin salesmen, and Jim
convinces him to do it like Hitler.
Yeah,
right?
he prints out
Mussolini?
it's a Mussolini speech.
Mussolini, you're right.
And he's like reading he's reading phrases from Mussolini speeches, and he's pounding his fists, and he's like pounding the podium.
Is that what it was
I
like?
thought I was at the episode of The Office where Dwight is up there, and it was like, what are we doing here? Like, what is happening in our country where one of you 3 underachievers who have no idea what any of you are going to actually do are going to win, and we're going to go to Washington?
Now, is this the one that Vivek Ramaswamy was the keynote speaker?
Yes, he did a fine job. I thought he was a fine speaker. He took photos with people. If you paid the troll toll, and you got to be in the VIP section, and then he got up and gave a nice speech. I will give the Hamilton County GOP credit. They did Vivek first, then the candidate speaking.
Interesting.
So if you were like, I am ready to stab my eyes out with an ice pick,
you already saw the main event. Over.
They fed you first, then Vivek spoke, then the candidate.
And then you could
A+ performance by the Hamilton County GOP.
And then you could quietly exit. All right, well, I've got more questions about that event. We'll get to it coming up. It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC.
Does the direction of our country concern you? Do you shake your head wondering how we got here? It's clear America has turned away from God, which is why we are plummeting into the dark abyss.
We need to turn back to God, individually and nationally. We broke God's law. Jesus paid the fine on the cross. We must repent of our sins and put our trust in the Lord Jesus Christ alone, in His death and resurrection, confessing Him as Lord of our life to be saved. He will then grant us eternal life with Him now and forever.
We need bold, genuine Christians like John Jacob to take Jesus with them into the D.C. swamp.
I'm John Jacob. I don't leave Jesus at the door like most officials do. I am the only candidate proven to fight for what is right and just. I have and will push back the radical left and weak establishment swamp. By God's grace, I did it in Indiana, and I will do it in D.C.
Vote John Jacob for Congress, District 6 on May 7th. Learn more at voteforjohnjacob.com. That's vote, the number 4, johnjacob.com.
I'm John Jacob, and I approve this ad. Paid for by John Jacob for Congress.
Summer's almost here, and you know what's coming. Mom, I'm bored. You've already been to the library, the park, the swimming pool, but it's 6 p.m. and there's a lot of daylight left. Let Life Church help you get your summer started off right. Bring your kids to one of our vacation Bible schools beginning at 6 p.m. on June 3rd. They'll make new friends, play fun games, learn new music, and learn truth about Jesus. What a better way to start off summer. Go to lifechurchin.com for more.
Did you know if you have water, storm, or fire damage, the first step is on you? Yikes. It's your responsibility to mitigate damages. Mitigate? Yeah, that's a fancy word for call Michaelis. They'll take it from there, from boarding up, cleaning up, and fixing up, to getting you squared up with your insurance company, which is a whole other mess you can avoid. Make it Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY.
At First Financial Bank, we have 4.5% APY on money market accounts and high rates on CDs. It's easy. Just stop into your local First Financial Bank to open your account, and we'll do the rest. What are you waiting for? Start growing your money today. APY equals annual percentage yield. $25,000 minimum deposit required for money market. Offer ends June 1st, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bank@first.com for details.
First! The elites want more control through digital currencies in a cashless society. This is Stephen K. Bannon, and I believe gold is the answer to safeguard your wealth, especially if you own your gold inside of a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting SHELTER to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, so text SHELTER to the number 989898 to claim your free info kit today.
Message and data rates may apply.
President Trump knows if you need backup to get a job done, you need a fighter. That's why President Trump is endorsing proven conservative combat veteran Jim Baird. Baird served our nation in the United States Army and was awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze with Valor Star. And when Baird got home, he didn't stop serving us. Jim Baird worked as a farmer and small business owner, creating jobs and growing our economy. Then Baird served Indiana as a state representative where he fought to safeguard our community. Now Baird is serving Hoosiers in Congress and will partner with President Trump to secure our border, build the wall, deport criminal illegal aliens, curb inflation, cut government spending, defend our God-given Second Amendment rights, and defeat the radical left. Help send President Trump the backup he needs to drain the swamp. Send Trump-endorsed conservative combat veteran Jim Baird for Congress.
I'm Jim Baird, and I approve this message. Paid for by elect Jim Baird for Congress.
Coming up in 2 minutes, the coroner confirms a parent's worst fear in the case of this missing little girl, plus how Election Day and the forecast are intertwined tomorrow, and John Herrick reports on Game 1 of a big playoff series for the Pacers. I'm Kirk Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios after Fox News Radio at the top of the hour. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
The judge threatens the former president again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, holding him in contempt of court for the 10th time for more Trump gag order violations. Judge Juan Merchan then said the $1,000 fines per violation are not working, so he's considering jailing the former president, adding the magnitude of that decision is not lost on him. Before going into court, the former president again said the order unconstitutionally silences him in this criminal case.
This has never happened in this country before. It's a ridiculous thing.
He also again claimed his first criminal trial is just politics.
It's a fake trial. They have no case.
Meanwhile, he also spoke out on the pro-Palestinian encampments on college campuses.
Columbia just canceled their commencement. That shouldn't happen. And it also came out that the protesters, many of the protesters, are backed by Biden's donors.
Now, Columbia University in New York has canceled its campus-wide commencement that was scheduled for May 15th after a protest camp was broken up there last week by police. In Massachusetts, demonstrators have given Harvard
President Biden a deadline of 5 p.m. today to start negotiating with them. This student group, they call themselves Harvard Out of Occupied Palestine, has not been clear about precisely what their next steps would be if the Harvard leadership does not respond. Their demands, though, are familiar to that we've seen at other universities during these protests: to disclose investments tied to Israel, divest, and drop all charges against the student activists.
Fox's Molly Line. As for the war they are protesting, Israel is getting ready to go after Hamas militants in an area of Gaza that is considered to be the militants' last stronghold. Rafah.
President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are expected to speak by phone today about the situation in Rafah in southern Gaza. Israeli troops have told about 100,000 Palestinian civilians to leave parts of the city.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They say it's her. Radar has some spotty showers. It's mostly cloudy, 65 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:02. The young toddler found in a pond over the weekend is that of Anna Mandana. The 2-year-old girl was missing Saturday afternoon, and rescuers found her body in a pond on the south side later that night. Police are still looking into how she ended up in the water. When you go to vote in the May primary tomorrow, don't forget your photo ID.
People have passports, people have their military ID, people, we're issuing free IDs here. We still have time.
Indiana Secretary of State Diego Morales, he says to All Indiana Politics that he and his staff are also going to do what they can to make sure your ballot is properly counted. The polls open at 6 a.m. local time Tuesday. You might want to have an umbrella as well as you head to the polls.
Those strong but sub-severe thunderstorms will come in fairly early, around that 9 o'clock approximately, when it's going to be at the Indiana border.
Aaron Updike with the National Weather Service, he says most of central and southern Indiana are under a good chance for severe weather both tomorrow and Wednesday. Tornadoes and damaging winds the main threats. 7 people shot overnight in Indy. 2 of them were killed. 6 of the shootings happening in a span of about 4 hours. A playoff rivalry renewed. The Indiana Pacers get ready to face the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals tonight. John Herrick reports.
This is about to be the 8th meeting in the postseason between these two franchises. In the regular season this year, the Pacers won 2 out of the 3 games. Right before the All-Star game in Indianapolis in February, Knicks forward Josh Hart said the state of Indiana did not have much to offer on his roommate's show podcast.
They do got a White Castle there, and I love White Castle. It's the only solid thing about Indiana.
Games 1 and 2 are in New York. Games 3 and 4, though, are in Indianapolis. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to speak?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make languages fun and engaging. You might even forget you're learning. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. Babbel teaches language skills you'll actually use, about travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you having real conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are voiced by real native speakers, you'll get pronunciation just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Get Babbel. It starts here. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC, powered by B&W Plumbing, HVAC, and Electrical, your American Standard air dealer.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Monday, May 6th. It is 5 minutes after 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Happy Primary Eve. And on the eve of Primary Day, guess what? Our Secretary of State has recently announced that the state has seen an increase in voter registration leading up to tomorrow's primary election.
Well, that's pretty wild and wacky, Casey, because all the counts I've seen are like record low voter participation in this primary. So not to say that Diego Morales is full of crap, but that's really interesting because all the early voting in many, many counties is markedly, not just lower, but markedly lower than what we have previously seen. And why would it be any higher? Because most of these candidates are completely horrific.
So it seems like he's taking a bit of a victory lap because he's
from Hungary? Did he do it from Hungary or the United States? Because remember, he just was, right? Like, wasn't he just in Hungary and we have no idea why?
He was on vacation, I believe. But
what an embarrassment Diego Morales is. Like, I would be embarrassed if that guy were running a Toys R Us. Like if I owned a Toys R Us, not that that's even a thing anymore, but if I owned a Toys R Us or let's go way back in the time machine. Let's say you owned a KB Toys in the 80s. Shall we go back all the way into the mall days and the KB Toys? If you were some out-of-town owner and you owned a KB Toys franchise in a local mall, and you ventured into your local mall in, say, 1988, and you saw Diego Morales running the place, you'd be mortified, and whoever hired him would no longer be employed. And that guy, that buffoon, not only oversees elections in the state, he also oversees businesses and many other things. I am mortified, Casey.
He's saying that funding from the various election improvement grants were used.
Oh, remember, that's the thing where he got money from the federal government.
Right,
and then
he was passing out checks.
With his name on them?
Yes. Yes. He says that was used for voter education and outreach activities. And in fact, it's helping getting people registered to vote.
But like,
it doesn't mean they're going to turn out to vote. It just means they're registered to vote.
Because like Abdul posted over the weekend that there had been like something like 12,000 some people in Marion County compared to 33,000 last year. Last year's a municipal primary year. That should be way lower than when you got governor and president and U.S. Senate on the ballot. There's no reason, there's no reason to be excited about voting because these candidates, look at our system of governance. Look at how horribly we are governed. And then a lot of the challengers, they're not all that great either, Casey.
Well, Diego Morales said that he's encouraged to see more eligible Hoosiers registered to vote. It's proof of their hard work. No, it's time to get out to the polls.
All my hard work in Hungary, I just jettisoned to go across the world because, Hungary is very influential in the American election system, Casey. I thought this might be fun because, look, you have a real struggle here. I mean, you're a Marion County voter, which is District 7.
Yeah.
You've got a real struggle here, which is who do you vote for in protest for Congress of our old pal dishonest Gabe Whitley? Who do you vote as the protest? And here's your real struggle. So Kat Ping has run a couple times. She's done the best against Carson in the past.
Yeah.
But so we're torn. Do you want the person who, you don't want Gabe to win because obviously the guy is a colossal liar and just horrific and awful. And so you don't want that. So Kat Ping is your most likely to win. But as Abdul and I've talked about, we would get great joy out of watching a deceased person beat Gabe Whitley in the vote total. So do you?
And there is somebody on the ballot who's no longer with us.
Jennifer Pace is sadly no longer with us. I think she passed away in, I believe it was March. I think that's her name. And like Abdul voted for her just because of the joy of seeing the embarrassment of Gabe Whitley lose to a deceased person. So what do you do here? Do you take the freebie one, which is, hey, Kat Ping, because we want to ensure Gabe doesn't win? Or do you take the deceased person in hopes that it would be hilarious to point at him and laugh and go, you lost to a deceased person?
Well, if we go by the you have to earn my vote, none of them have earned my vote. And in fact, one of them has done everything to not get my vote. So, boy, I don't know. It's a leave it blank situation, but isn't voting for the deceased person almost like leaving it blank?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're operating from the standpoint of nobody's earned my vote, then you have to vote for the deceased person.
Yeah.
Because we would get great fun on this show of watching this total liar lose to a dead person.
Yeah.
Kat Ping's probably gonna win that anyway because she's been around and she's a very nice person and she was a member of the military. Look, nobody's beaten Carson anyway. So the joy we would get out of watching Gabe lose to a dead person, I think you've got to go with the deceased person.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's what we'll do. I guess I'm voting for Jennifer Pace.
Okay, perfect.
Posthumously.
Anybody else stand out to you on your ballot, Casey, that you'd like to share?
Well, you know what? There is one person for the Indiana House of Representatives, and that is Stephen Whitmer. We talked about him. He's in my district. I got the door knocker from him, and it actually was exactly what he needs to do. It had the 3 points of why he's running. It was clear. It was concise.
Yep.
I thought as far as election material, his was one of the best we've seen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's earning my vote. That's that's proving that he's a good marketer.
And he listens to the show. I've seen him in the YouTube chat before.
Yeah.
So you got to, even though he's unopposed, you got to do that. Now, you do have the opportunity to vote against an incumbent state senator. You got to do that. Unless the guy's on got a wanted poster on a post office somewhere. Brian Buchanan is the guy that he's running against, right?
Yeah, so Brian Buchanan has been in office since 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
And the guy running against him is Joseph Bookwalter, not Charles Bookwalter in your district.
Yeah.
And we don't know if they're related, but if I were to vote in that...
You got to vote against all incumbents.
Yeah, I got to vote against
all incumbents.
Buchanan.
That should be universal advice to people across the state. Everyone hearing our voice. If you are voting for an incumbent member of the state House or the state Senate, you are giving your consent to this crap that's happened with property taxes. You're giving your consent to this crap that has happened with the out-of-control spending. You're getting consent to this crap that has happened with the gas taxes. You're giving your consent to the crap that has happened with the crony capitalism, with the LEAP district and everything else. Because all of these people, almost all of them, universally just line up and vote for these budgets, which have all of this stuff in it. So every incumbent, if you do no other research, Casey, find out who the incumbents are for State House and State Senate and vote against those people.
The funny thing about this is the Democrat primary was canceled. So they've even got no one. But then I've also got my delegates.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out the way that Marion County's got, they do it by township. So we're trying to square up which township by number you're in. So we'll get that hopefully here by the end of the show to figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
and if not,
you can just print the whole thing out.
I'll just print the whole thing out and put that in my pocket.
They got it.
Put that in my pocket.
Micah's website's got them in ABC order, so you
Yeah.
can just go off that. Real quick, I'll give mine, and then Abdul's going to be with us because we got to talk about where we went on Friday, why I wasn't here. That's I think will be very interesting to people. So you know me, I'm an open book on everything that I vote for.
Yeah. Who you got?
I'm leaving President blank. Donald Trump certainly did not earn my vote by not participating in the debates. So President being left blank. U.S. Senate, obviously, Jim Banks is a complete zero. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you that story later.
I know.
Yeah, I'll tell you that story later.
I wasn't sure if that was an off-air
Well,
conversation.
I'll tell you
or
off air,
if we
and
could
then
share that
maybe we'll tell it on air.
You tell me off there. We'll edit it, clean it up, and then present it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Banks is a complete loser and voted for McCarthy and Johnson, and so no way, no how. I'm not voting with him running unopposed. You got to vote for Charles Bookwalter in the 4th over Jim Baird. I would vote for a crushed orange peel over Jim Baird at this point. State House, Jeff Thompson, the incumbent, got to go. He's the head of Ways and Means. He's the guy that controls the money. He's at the epicenter of all this disaster. This guy, Joe Baddock, I've emailed with him a couple times, and he was like trying to earn my vote. And I said, dude, unless you have a photo with Castro and Che somewhere, like I am voting for you. You stop earning my vote. So Joe Baddock against Jeff Thompson. My state Senate race are two total losers who have both supported massive tax increases, Brett Clark and Ann Engelhart with their various, she was on the school board with referendums, him with the income tax when he was sheriff. So I'm leaving that one blank in protest. Let's see, anything else? I got my delegates.
You've got governor. I think
that's right. I skipped the governor, didn't I?
Yeah, I think we all know which way you're leaning there.
Yeah, so I decided out of the gate I was going to vote for Curtis Hill, but then he's campaigned so poorly, and the fact that he didn't have the cojones to show up here to debate Jamie Rittenauer. Jamie Rittenauer showed up and answered all the questions, and I'm not even really totally because I'm for her, but it's a protest vote that they kicked her off the stage, and that's crap.
Yeah.
So I'm going to vote for her.
But as far as that thinking that she showed up, we also had Suzanne Crouch that showed up, and also Eric Doden showed up.
What am I going to do? Vote for the Holcomb 2.0 with Crouch? I mean, come on, Casey. What am I going to do? Vote for her? Though I think with Doden is, what does he stand for? What? I know he's for making teachers don't have to pay taxes. He wants the state to take over Indianapolis.
That seems like so long ago. He came out of the gate with that one.
I can't vote for, Rittenauer is by far the most conservative, and she's the most entertaining. And they kicked her off the debate stage, and no one other than Silent Sue even came to her defense. So I'm just going to throw her a few votes, family votes, you know, because I feel like she deserved it. She worked the hardest, and she had the most common sense, and she was the most direct. I wanted to vote for Curtis Hill. I really, really wanted to vote for Curtis Hill. But his campaign, Casey, it's just been
he's been distracted.
So underwhelming that I think I'm going to vote for Rittenauer for governor in protest of it. All right, let's take a break.
Okay.
Abdul's going to be with us when we come back.
Yeah.
We went and had some, we had an adventure on Friday.
We had a little field trip. Speaking of U.S. House reps from District 7, we've got a story coming up with Kendall Casey on 93 WIBC.
This could be one of the most consequential elections in
Our lifetime.
Who will be our next president? Next senator? Governor?
And just as important,
Who will represent us in the General Assembly?
You have a voice with your
One vote.
Unhappy with the current state of affairs?
You can do something about it.
Voting is one of our most important rights as Americans.
it's how you can stand up for your beliefs.
Your values.
And for future generations.
You can vote now through primary day, May 7th.
From 93 WIBC and Urban One.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-917-8730. 800-917-8730. 800-917-8730. That's 800-917-8730.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password.
For you to become a victim.
LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to lifelock.com.
That moment when you realize you've got a plumbing problem, a real pipe-bursting, clogged-up tight, somebody-get-all-the-towels, full-on flush fiasco. But fear not, there's an expert for that.
Trust your local plumbing experts at Broad Ripple Service Experts and save $50 off any plumbing repair.
Plumbing problemos? There's an expert for that.
Call Broad Ripple Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS. See website for license details.
Mecum Auctions, the world's largest collector car auction company, returns to Indy with Dana Mecum's 37th Original Spring Classic, May 10th through the 18th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. 3,000 muscle cars, Corvettes, exotics, and more. Broadcast on Motor Trend TV and streaming live on Max. From avid collectors to those new to the Mecum experience, we welcome everyone. Register to bid now at Mecum.com.
This week at Sullivan Hardware and Garden, get 30% off all patio furniture, wicker, Berlin Gardens, poly, cast aluminum, teak, and more.
93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's here in Casey.
Yeah.
Did you know you're entitled to have imaginary friends?
Well, yeah, I guess you are, actually.
You're entitled to have whatever imaginary friends you want. However, you have to be honest with the court about them. And that brings us to our next guest. He's an author, he's a broadcaster, he's a provocateur, and for the purpose of today's exercise, he's an attorney at law, the one and only Abdul Keep Shabazz. Hello.
Good morning, my friends. How you guys doing?
So we disappeared on Friday.
Yes, we did.
And I thought it would be relevant because, you know, we're transparency kings over here on this show. We have an open relationship with our audience about where we're going and what we're doing. And I thought, well, it'd be great since you and I went somewhere together for us to tell everybody about where we went on Friday and what exactly happened.
The amazing adventures of Rob and Abdul.
You guys were on a field trip, huh?
It was a field trip, all right.
So we went to Evansville, and would you like to tell everybody where we went and what we were doing?
Yes, we went down to Evansville, down to Vandenberg County. That's where actually Suzanne Crouch is from. Very nice country, very nice, polite, wonderful people. But we were there for legal purposes. We had a court hearing. Because back in September of 22, Mr. Gabriel Whitley, who is a candidate for Congress in the 7th Congressional District, who was on the ballot, called Rob Kendall a pedophile. Now, and he brought a couple things on social media that were very defamatory. And so we're like, hey, what the heck is this? So we filed a defamation lawsuit because you can't call somebody pedophiles unless you got proof or evidence. And we tried to get a hold of him and his alter ego, Spencer McDaniel, which I'll get to in just a second, which is where the imaginary friend comes in. Like, hey, this isn't true. Rob isn't a pedophile, never been accused of, never been arrested, so please take this down. And so they invited me to go engage in self-copulation. So I'm like, okay, if that's the game you want to play, fine. We can play games too. So we filed a lawsuit, defamation. And Gabe Whitley actually hired the firm I used to be with, Lewis and Wilkins. And I still love my old friends. It's not personal. It's just business. It is what it is. And so what ends up happening was Gabe Whitley is dismissed as a defendant because we couldn't establish that he actually wrote the defamatory post. He was associated with the people, the imaginary people who wrote the defamatory post, but he wasn't. We couldn't prove him as a defendant.
Right, because the Spencer McDaniel guy who's associated with Gabe, who we thought at the time was associated with Gabe, fell on the sword, right? He said, I made the post, I did this, Gabe had nothing to do with this.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So, with that said, so we're just basically, the case has sort of been in limbo, so we tried to get a hold of, okay, let's find Mr. Spencer McDaniel, let's see if we can get what's called a good service, because you got to serve somebody that know they're going to court, otherwise you can't get in there. So what ends up happening was I went back and forth with Gabe's attorneys, like, hey, tell you what, if you tell us where Spencer McDaniel lives, we'll drop Gabe as a defendant. Because in a lot of litigation, you sue everybody, then the defendants drop off as they go. They gave us an address. And it was an address down in Texas, which, thanks to the lovely Mrs. Kendall, we found out the alleged defendant does not live there.
Okay.
So there was that.
We can find no proof that this person exists, that he's a living natural person, or that this person being Spencer McDaniel exists independent of Gabe Whitley. Is that correct?
That is correct. And Rob's wife put together a 100-page report, very detailed, on how Gabe Whitley, how she couldn't independently confirm Spencer McDaniel, which led me to the theory, like, okay, you give me the foundation that I need to make our case that Spencer McDaniel and Gabe Whitley are the same person.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, we went down to court on Friday. There was some miscommunication. The court didn't get a hold of me, like, hey, the judges are going to be in today, so we're going to reschedule your case. Like, well, it's a 3-hour drive. But unfortunately, it is what I had to do that before. It is what it is, where the court can't get a hold of you. So we made sure they had the proper information. So our hearing is rescheduled on June 13th.
So you're saying you went down there and it's been rescheduled?
Well, it wasn't rescheduled. They tried to get a hold of me to reschedule the hearing.
But it hasn't been dismissed
due
to prejudice?
No, it is not. It's not dismissed. Not dismissed with prejudice. When something's dismissed with prejudice, that basically means, like, no, you cannot do this again. You cannot bring this back. But there's also a trial rule out there, and I'm not going to get in all the weeds on this because it would just bore the audience to death. There's a trial rule that says, hey, if something was done inappropriately or fraudulent, there's a rule in Indiana civil procedures that you can sort of bring everybody back. It's called joinder. It's a civil procedure rule. You don't need to know it. Just say it ain't over. We'll just put it that way.
Well, and I think that's the alarming thing, is whether it's the donors that nobody can find with Gabe Whitley, the Capitol Chronicle had the big expose on that, the Spencer McDaniel guy who nobody can find. I mean, I bet my wife spent probably 50 to 100 hours digging into this for this document that we've submitted as part of our case. Nobody can locate this guy. The Capitol Chronicle couldn't find him. You've got this Save the USA group that nobody other than him or Spencer McDaniel appear to be connected to. And according to Gabe's campaign finance report, he's paid huge amounts of money to this Save the USA. Abdul, like, everything about this guy, none of it makes any sense. None of it adds up. And it all appears highly dishonest.
Oh, what do you mean appears?
Well, I
mean, let's put it this way. Anybody has their name honest in front of them, unless their name is Abraham Lincoln, I don't trust them.
Okay, but I'm confused because on social media, Gabe Whitley said that the trial was dismissed with prejudice, and he also congratulated Spencer for winning the case, even though he wasn't present.
Oh, that's because Gabe is full of bull crap, as Rob Kendall would say.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the tweet here. I'll find it here in just a second. But that's the thing, right? It's just one dishonest statement from this guy after another. I mean, we go there. The bailiff was very nice. He said, hey, there's been a scheduling conflict. We need to reschedule. He was very polite. He was very apologetic. We never saw the judge. I mean, there was nothing that would lead anyone to believe. And there's no cameras there anyway. The only information that he got was Abdul put out, hey, hearings were scheduled. We're coming back for you guys. We'll see you June the 13th. And then immediately, he being Gabe Whitley, is on Twitter declaring some sort of victory for
And here's the thing, too. First of all, number one, I want to make it perfectly, because a lot of my friends have been asking me, why you let this guy do this? Why don't you leave him alone? Well, number one, first of all, we didn't start this. I didn't start this. Rob didn't start this. Gabe Whitley started this with his questionable, alleged, reportedly defamatory post. That's kind of point number one. Point number two, if Gabe Whitley was a regular person, I wouldn't care.
Right.
But he's not. He's a candidate for Congress.
Right.
Although a rather crappy candidate for Congress, but still a candidate for Congress in the 7th Congressional District. And there's a chance, and I kind of hope it does happen, that he becomes a Republican nominee in the 7th Congressional District, because if he becomes a nominee, it is so game on.
Well, that's my district, and why would you hope that he became the candidate?
Because he's going to provide me with so much fodder to write about, and it'll all be true. It won't be anything made up, because you know the old phrase, like, we don't need to make that. You can't make this up in real life. This is actually real stuff, because whether it is his questionable campaign finance reports, whether it's all the default judgments. Matter of fact, between the time we filed our suit and I would say today, he's like 4 or 5 default judgments.
Now, default judgment is where somebody alleges you owe money, and then you don't even show up to contest it. You don't fight it, and the court rules.
In a nutshell, yeah.
In your face. Is that right? Is that
in a nutshell, you don't. When someone sues you, if you don't answer a complaint, you can get the default judgment levied against you. He's had 4 or 5 default judgments since September of 2022. And what is it like? What, May of 2024?
And these aren't like $8 default judgments, right? Like, I mean, these are pretty
big.
Are
like this is like $15, almost $20,000 for cars, for rent, the whole 9 yards. And this person, once again, if it's a regular person, I don't care, because I deal with this stuff all the time. But Mr. Whitley, being a candidate for Congress, to me, that changes everything.
Can you guess what the judge is going to say about the Spencer McDaniel friend, air quotes?
I think we have a good case. I never try to predict what a judge is going to say or do, because you just don't do it, because you have no idea what's in the judge's head and what other evidence they have. So I think we have a solid case. I think we have a good case. Otherwise, we wouldn't bring it. But no, I have no idea what the judge is going to say or do, at least right now.
Are you surprised that, again, the Marion County GOP and the state party, I mean, they have to have read the stuff in the Capitol Chronicle. They have to have read the Indy Star piece about the veterans group that nobody could find that he claimed endorsed him. They obviously know about our lawsuit against him. This guy is, he's got complaints with him with the IED, Indian Election Division, and the Federal Election Commission that are very serious against him. They know all this.
If state party and the Marion County Republican Party went after every nut job that was out there, trust me, that would be the only job that Anne Hathaway and Joe Elsner would actually have. No, they're both aware of Gabe Whitley. I've spoken to both of them, like, hey, FYI, this is out there. I mean, you do what you do. You do your business. You do your thing. I know you guys don't get involved in primaries. However, I just want you to know that it is out there.
So where do you go from here? You just wait until June?
We're supposed to hear from the court today, a little bit later, because Evansville is an hour behind. So we're supposed to hear from sometime this afternoon as to whether we can do our dismissal hearing by telephone and sort of save everybody the 3-hour drive.
But if not, we'll head to Evansville on June the 13th, because we'll just close with this. You and I were talking before we went on air. You've been doing this longer than I have. I've been at this 20 years. You've been at this
darn near 30.
30. I've never seen or met anybody like this dude. Like, it is a level of unbelievable. And having dealt with politics for 20 plus years now, to say that I've never seen or met anybody like someone, that is really saying something. But this guy at this point is a level to which, if you told somebody this, like if you wrote this down as a movie, they'd be like, totally unbelievable. Your script has been rejected.
Right.
Look at it this way. In the 30 years I've covered politics in Illinois and Indiana, I've only come across one person, this is like back in the mid-90s, who was as nuts as Gabe Whitley. This was a guy, his name was like Maurice Horton. He ran for mayor of Springfield like several million times. And when he ran for governor of Illinois, he said his governorship would be the next best coming since Jesus Christ was here. So about every 30 years I get.
So look, we just wanted to be transparent about where we went and what we were doing, and let everybody know who we're dealing with, and vote accordingly tomorrow.
And this person is a candidate for Congress, so please keep that in mind.
Yeah, all right. Casey, take us to break.
This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake. and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil Nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
It seems to be a futile effort. Radar is clear for now. It's cloudy, though, and 66 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. House Speaker Mike Johnson will face a vote this week to remove him from the speakership. Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke about the motion to vacate last week.
I can't wait to see Democrats go out and support a Republican speaker and have to go home to their primaries and have to run for Congress again.
Well, Democrats have said they will vote to kill the effort, effectively ensuring Johnson keeps his job. Most Republicans also will not back Greene's effort to remove him. Columbia University will not hold its main graduation ceremony. The decision to cancel the university-wide commencement ceremony came after weeks of pro-Palestinian protests on the New York City campus. President Biden is also set to hold a call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. The call comes as Israel is gearing up for a military operation in the city of Rafah in Gaza. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Sinus pain. You know it all too well. It's constant. It's frustrating. The pressure, the headaches, the snoring, the constant clogged feeling. You're tired of feeling like this, but you've tried nasal sprays, over-the-counter medicines, even home remedies. No matter what you try, nothing gives you lasting sinus relief. You're tired of missing out and feeling miserable. There is something you can do. Something different. Indianapolis Sinus Center. The physicians at Indianapolis Sinus Center have been serving the community with proven treatments for over 50 years. They know what you're going through, and they're standing by ready to offer you the best treatments to provide long-term relief. Breathe better. You don't have to keep suffering from sinus pain. Call Indianapolis Sinus Center today at 317-528-9650 and take the first step toward relief. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650, or go to IndianapolisSinusCenter.com.
Bill Frazier is a Hoosier, an American, who has served our citizens with distinction, determination, and a wisdom that comes with years of experience. Now, Bill Frazier is ready to dedicate his life to serving you as your next congressman in Indiana's 6th District. Bill Frazier is a true conservative. He'll fight for a secure border, smaller government, and lower taxes. He will be a tireless advocate for the Second Amendment and the rights of the unborn. Bill Frazier is a veteran paratrooper, a successful farmer and business owner, a licensed commercial jet pilot, a man with experience. When President Ronald Reagan needed expert advice on agricultural issues, he called on a young Hoosier farmer, Bill Frazier. Ronald Reagan trusted Bill Frazier. You can too. Vote for experience and determination. Vote for the true conservative Hoosier. Vote for Bill Frazier for Congress.
I'm Bill Frazier, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Bill Frazier.
A quick question for dads. Is your child's school providing them with the skills they'll need to succeed in the real world? Do you feel like they're safe when they go to school? Do you worry about bullying and drugs? Are they getting a solid foundation in the basics, core subjects like math, reading, and science? How about after-school programs? Does your child have access to quality activities like clubs, arts, and sports? If the neighborhood school isn't working for your child, they're not stuck where they are. You and your child have options. Your child can choose another school, one that's a better fit. There are opportunities for your child to attend other traditional public schools, public charter schools, private school, or there's virtual or homeschool learning, whatever fits best for your kid. Don't settle. Get your child the education they deserve. Make a choice. Make a change. Visit myschooloptions.org. That's myschooloptions.org.
Paid for by the Institute for Quality Education.
B&W Plumbing, HVAC, and Electrical is here to make your spring comfortable and hassle-free. Go to bplusw.com/radio to schedule your appointment today. B&W is your independent American Standard air dealer.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. It's time to hear from you. Kendall and Casey present Voicemails. Brought to you by QC Kinetics for non-surgical regenerative medicine treatment at 317-559-PAIN.
The phone number, if you'd like to get involved, 317-684-8444. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Can I just say something real quick before we get into the voicemails?
Please do.
Look, maybe we'll get into this next hour.
Yeah.
But this is the Kendall and Casey Show.
Correct.
Okay? It's
Yeah.
Kendall and Casey.
Right, I'm here.
Rob Kendall and
Hi.
Casey Daniels host this show together.
Yeah.
It is not the Rob Kendall Show. It is not the Rob Kendall Variety Hour. It is not Rob Kendall and Friends.
Yeah.
It is the Kendall and Casey Show.
Yeah.
You know why it is?
For over 2 years now.
Yeah, we are equal partners in this show. We've long laid out, Casey, that when it comes to diversity, there is no greater champion of diversity than me.
Right.
Well, with my best friend being black.
Yeah.
My wife being Hispanic.
Uh-huh.
You know, my wife is Hispanic.
Right.
And my partner that I work with is a woman.
Correct.
Nobody loves diversity more than me.
Right.
Nobody is less racist than me.
Okay.
Nobody
Yep.
celebrates the stew of life. When you think about black best friend, Hispanic wife, works with a woman. And yet there are people out there, Casey,
Yeah.
and maybe next hour we can get into this a little bit more, who will talk about this show and act as though you are not part of the show.
Yeah, no, I'm right here. In fact, I'm the one who directs the progress
Yes.
of the show. I'm the one who picks the topics.
What would
I'm the one who puts the show together.
What would that make someone, Casey, who clearly is listening to the show, and then they're hate tweeting about the show, but they're not even acknowledging your presence as a part of the show to which they are hate tweeting about?
You know what that would make them?
Yeah, what would that make them?
That would make them upset that I've said I'll vote for a dead person over them.
Oh my goodness. I get that it just happens so much. And it's like, that is so offensive that, look, if you want to be mad at me, and we get this with these politicians all the time, and that's, you know, Rob Kendall this, Rob Kendall that, it's our show. We exist in this stew together. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what is the right word if you don't acknowledge a woman's presence or importance in the workplace. There's a word for that. If you dismiss a woman's participation.
Is it like misogynistic? Is
Yeah,
that where
maybe
you're
that's
going?
the word. There's an ist. Isn't there an ist? One of those ists. If you don't think women are as good as men or acknowledge their presence, or isn't there something that ends in ist? I don't know. I wanted to point that out, that I think you're a very, very valuable part of this show. And anytime someone hate tweets about me and our show,
They need to include me?
and doesn't include you, it's very dismissive of women in the workplace, period. And that should be a giant red flag for everyone.
The word you were looking for was chauvinist.
Oh!
I think.
Well, I had some other is words, but we'll go with that one. How about
one's
that?
the nice version of the word.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
How pathetic is that?
He's trying to get under your skin.
No, but it's like, but
If I'm not here, why did he block me?
Exactly. But this happens. We've had this happen multiple times where people will do this. It's
somebody who's running for a higher office than that guy.
This has happened multiple times. Look, Casey is, to steal a Ghostbusters word, Casey, you are the gatekeeper, right? You do the template. I might make suggestions, but Casey has the ability to veto anything and everything that we talk about on this program. And people should really be sucking up to you, not to me.
Right? There's one person who got that right, who came in the studio.
Who was that?
Can I say?
Oh, sure.
Suzanne Crouch.
Well, very good. She's a woman. She should.
She understood.
I would hope that she would be nice to the woman.
Now, there's been other people who've not quite learned that lesson, haven't they? Yeah.
Do we have phone calls?
We do.
Do we have some phone calls?
You want to get to a phone call?
No ist phone calls. If you're not going to look, here's the new rule on the phone calls.
I'm used to being taken for granted, Rob. That's the plight of all women everywhere. You just do things and it just happens, and people don't realize it until you're no longer there.
And
then they're like, "What?"
I'm just saying, at a time where we need to defend women in the workplace and women in the sporting world, and we need to be propping women up, and as someone who for many, many, many years has been a champion of women, and I just find it so disappointing when people running for public office don't acknowledge.
Yeah.
They acknowledge they're listening.
Yeah.
But they don't acknowledge your contribution to this program.
I remember somebody else who acknowledged, which surprised me.
Yeah.
That was Jim Lucas.
Oh.
Because, you guys have had a little...
Yeah, but he acknowleded your presence at least.
Yes, at least he got that right.
That's great. Hey, speaking of Lucas, we got to talk about him next hour because we got to talk about some of these important races that people are voting on.
Let's get to a phone call.
Yes, absolutely.
This first one is about property taxes.
Good morning, Mr. Kendall and Ms. Daniels.
See?
Yeah, I've called before, but I know you hate talking about property taxes. But Andrew Ireland came by my house Friday, and I had him look at my tax bill, and he thought I should call you back because he said it was the worst tax statement he had ever seen.
Yeah.
It's criminal.
Thank you.
In 2022, Franklin Township voted no on their tax referendum for the schools. In 2023, I turned 65. And the state took out my property assessment for schools, went from $1,000 to $1,700. They billed us for the assessment or for the referendum that we got voted no on. And they took away my homestead credit. My taxes went from $1,600 to $4,000. They changed my property from residential to agricultural for a half-acre lot. What's going on?
Well, okay, so first of all, and let's give this guy credit right out of the gate. You notice he acknowledged both members of the Kendall and Casey show.
Correct.
Very good on that one. Way to really respect women. And I'm not sure I could vote for any candidate who is totally dismissive of women in any shape, form, or fashion. So good on that guy. You got to appeal that, and we've walked you through the process.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's probably some sort of misinformation that has been typed in, as we talked about with Eric Grossman, the Tippecanoe County Assessor, last hour, who's encouraging everybody to appeal. Make the phone call first. Hey, say, hey, this doesn't seem right. This increase is astronomical. Can you walk me through all of these things and where the money is coming from? Maybe they'll catch something that stands out like they did with mine, which will save you the process. But then, yeah, you got to dig into that. You got to appeal that. You know, don't just take that lying down. You got to stand up for yourself.
Absolutely. He should call. He should call today, in fact.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe something will change.
Sure.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That's what happened with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Okay. Next phone call. This guy listens off and on. He was in the hospital.
Oh.
And even through his medical issues, still continued to listen to the Kendall and Casey show.
That?
Yeah. And he wanted to talk to you about Bruce Springsteen.
Henry here. The guy that doesn't listen was in the hospital because having heart procedures done. But, yeah, no one listens to your show at all. But I do want to give you an update. Everything went swimmingly. Heart's perfect order now.
Nice.
But, Rob, I do have to say I listened to what you said about Springsteen. But I listened to a couple of his shows from the end of this year, especially the one in Uncasville, because Connecticut is my home state. But still, even at his age, he's on point. His concerts are fantastic. So if you have the opportunity to do it, I would absolutely go see him. They say it's his final tour, but I don't think so. I still think he's got a few years left in him. I mean, at least he's not up on stage pulling a Joe Biden.
All right, so I know we got more voicemails, so this will be our last one, then we'll get to break, because Hammer and I and you have to talk about this thing with Ric Flair in the bathroom that's fascinating. Here's what I would say to this, okay? I think I did the math. I think I've been 10 or 11 times. I can't remember what it is. And here is my equation to this, that my dad was a huge Mickey Mantle fan, like many people from the baby boomer generation. And the final year of Mickey Mantle's career, he was old. He was run down by injury. He could barely run around the bases. Like, that's the lasting memory for many kids of the way Mickey Mantle went out. I kind of look at it the same way. I've seen it all. I've helped Bruce Springsteen crowd surf. I've grabbed onto his leg. I have patted him on the back. I have given him a high five. I have seen him play for 3.5 hours at a very, very high level.
Go
Casey.
out on top.
Why would I want to be exposed to, even if it's, because the lasting memory, let's face it, and we've been spoiled, is 1985, Giganto Bruce Springsteen with the blue jeans and the bandana and the cutoff T-shirt, and that is the lasting memory of Bruce Springsteen. Why would I want to be exposed to anything other than that? I'm not disputing it's still probably better than any other show out there on the market. Taylor Swift. But I'm just saying, if I'm used to filet mignon, why would I settle for What's a steak below filet mignon, Casey? I'm not used to steak because I'm very poor. Kev!
Maybe like a New York strip steak.
Thank you. There we go. A New York strip. It's still very good, but it's not the filet mignon.
Hammer's up next. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, can the United States really get Israel to do their bidding? And my goodness, they've gone all out on their Trump hate. That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends at Universal Windows Direct. And man, what an incredible deal going on right now at Universal Windows Direct. Call today, 317-659-7574, 317-659-7574. And they've got that fabulous buy two, get two free deal. That's right. For every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 free. Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. Buy 20, get 20. There's no limit. But on top of that, and listen to this, on top of that, you call today, 317-659-7574, you're going to get 0% financing for 60 months. That's right, 0% financing for 60 months. Restrictions apply, but that's up to 5 years. Oh, yeah, and one more thing. Mention my name, Rob Kendall, and you're going to get $250 off your project. UWD.com, UWD.com, Universal Windows Direct. Tell them Rob sent you.
Hey, it's Hammer Nigel, and look, if you're over 60 and if you've not filed for Social Security, there's some stats you might want to know about.
Did you know that 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income?
Wow, and it's because they file for their benefits at the wrong time. Now, you could learn how you could wring every nickel out of the benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery. He's your retirement guy right here in Indy.
The free analysis makes filing for Social Security as easy as it can be, and it could help ensure you get the last penny out of the benefits that are rightfully yours.
So if you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement and you've not filed for Social Security, call now, 317-648-5120. That's 648-5120. Schedule your free analysis by calling Bill Demery at 648-5120. And tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
President Trump knows if you need backup to get a job done, you need a fighter. That's why President Trump is endorsing proven conservative combat veteran Jim Baird. Baird served our nation in the United States Army and was awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze with Valor Star. And when Baird got home, he didn't stop serving us. Jim Baird worked as a farmer and small business owner, creating jobs and growing our economy. Then Baird served Indiana as a state representative where he fought to safeguard our community. Now Baird is serving Hoosiers in Congress and will partner with President Trump to secure our border, build the wall, deport criminal illegal aliens, curb inflation, cut government spending, defend our God-given Second Amendment rights, and defeat the radical left. Help send President Trump the backup he needs to drain the swamp. Send Trump-endorsed conservative combat veteran Jim Baird for Congress.
I'm Jim Baird, and I approve this message. Paid for by elect Jim Baird for Congress.
Hey, it's Casey Daniels, and let's talk about some testimonials about Galaxy Concrete Coating. Ryan Kay said working with everyone there was a great experience. They're all very professional and wonderful to work with. The guy leading the crew that worked on our garage was very detailed and meticulous. Jason B. said, awesome product, highly recommended. The crew was very helpful, going above and beyond their contract. If you have a space, indoor or outdoor, that needs improving, consider Galaxy Concrete Coating. With mortgage rates as high as they are right now, you may be looking for something better, but you don't want to move. So improve the space that you're in. Consider Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Their number, 317-934-6411. You can find them online, galaxyconcretecoatings.com.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Are you annoyingly inattentive? Do you watch a movie and then ask a zillion questions because you weren't paying attention? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Get to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale and get a king bed for a queen price. Save up to $700 and get a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses, all with free and fast delivery. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
It is 9 minutes away from 11. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC, and Hammer joins us in the studio.
I
Good
can't
morning.
be the only one that when I hear this song, the first thing I do is put that fist in the air like Bender, walking off in the slow fade to black in the Breakfast Club.
All right, Hammer, we got to talk about this tweet from Ric Flair. There is a lot going on in this tweet, and you were just the first person I thought of when I saw this, and I told Casey, that we have to talk with Hammer about this more. So shall I just read the tweet?
Please, just read the tweet as it is.
Yeah, so Ric Flair, obviously a very famous professional wrestler.
Big in pop culture. Like, people yell that, woo, all the time.
Yeah, and he goes out to events now, and people pay him to come to their events, and sports teams pay him to come.
He's a friend of the show.
Yeah, he's been on the Hammer and Nigel show. All right, are you ready? So this was a tweet yesterday from Ric Flair.
His verified account with, like, the check mark and stuff.
Yes. I spent $1,500 at Paisanos to be disrespected more than I ever have in my entire life. After taking 20 pictures with customers and staff, I struggled to get through this. I was asked to leave because of an issue I had with the kitchen.
Give it to me. Give it to me. Quote, I spent $1,500 at Paisanos, which is a pizza joint, to be disrespected more than I ever have in my entire life. After taking 20 pictures with customers and staff, I was asked to leave because of an issue I had with the kitchen manager taking too long in the bathroom. I would highly recommend that anyone who wants to enjoy a relaxing time in Gainesville at a nice restaurant to never visit this place. Woo!
Okay, so I don't know why I think that's so funny, but the idea that Ric Flair had an altercation with some chef or manager or whatever it was, being in the can too long. You got to help me with this. What do we even make of this? There's so much more I desire to know.
So let's go line by line here. It opens up with him saying he spent $1,500
at a pizza joint.
Right.
That's a lot of pie.
And this wasn't like he was buying a bunch of pizzas for like a charity group or something, or his buddies. He was dining in. $1,500 to dine in at a pizza joint. Again, this wasn't St. Elmo. This wasn't Ruth's Chris. This wasn't any of that. It was a pizza joint in Florida.
It's hard to believe he's had some financial troubles over the years.
Okay, now here's the deal with that. He was posting pictures of his daughters graduating. So I'm wondering if this wasn't a graduation party.
Okay.
$1,500?
I don't know.
For pizza?
Maybe.
Okay. So there's that angle.
Yeah.
And then, was he upset that the manager was taking too long in the bathroom because he had to go? Or was he upset that the manager was taking too long in the bathroom because everybody wanted pictures with him? Like you said, he was taking 20 plus pictures with everybody. Yeah. Maybe he just wanted to get his money's worth and eat that $1,500 worth of pizza.
What did he need the manager for?
This is what I don't understand.
Yeah.
And just the thoughts of you're having some bowel issue, and you're on the can,
and Ric
Flair's out there, and enraged Ric Flair's giving you the business.
You're sitting in the stall, you got the door kind of shut, and all you hear out in your lobby every 5 minutes, woo! Woo!
He's cutting a promo on him while the guy's trying to, go to the bathroom.
Like, nobody cuts a better promo than Ric Flair. I mean, he's the one that brought us limousine riding, wheeling, dealing son of a gun. And now, in a tweet, he's flaming some dude who had to take a long dump. And we don't know why.
Well, did he have too many adult beverages?
Well, that's been an issue. That's been an issue for Slick Rick in the past. Yeah,
I'm gonna probably say yeah. That's probably a given.
He was asked to leave.
Why? What
Who
happened?
asked him to leave? Was the manager in the bathroom in the can? Get out of here, Flair.
Does Paisanos just have a bathroom? That's my other question. Is it like going to Arby's where there's just one, bathroom?
Right. And why is Flair so upset about this? It sounded like he was in his element. He was eating pizzas, taking pictures, wooing.
And he's been kicked out of places before.
I wonder if you can't be first, but you can't be next. What's coming up this afternoon?
Monday Gun Day with Guy Relford. We got the biggest stories in Indy, and we are giving away Carb Day tickets. Nice. Woo! Woo! Everybody on the count of three. In your cars at work. Ric Flair woo on three. 1, 2, 3. Woo!
Big man!
Guys, let's talk game. Practice just wrapped up with the annual spring game. Your team looks promising this fall, but how's your game? Testosterone therapy can help you get back to your best, and spring is the time to start. We recommend Low T Center.
They make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you feel tired, if you've seen weight gain, loss of muscle mass, could be low T. And lowtcenter.com is the place where you book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Dents happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill a Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal.
Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been a local, family-owned and operated business for nearly 50 years and helps keep Central Indiana's economy strong by employing over 70 families. Garage Doors of Indianapolis stands by their products and services while they share and embrace our conservative values. So when you have garage door problems, call them today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis, 875-4577, 875-4577, or visit doorstoday.com.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Building a better future for Hoosiers is going to take an outsider. Brad Chambers is the only candidate for governor who's not a career politician. And only Brad Chambers built a national business from nothing. As Secretary of Commerce, Brad Chambers broke records for job growth all across the state. Jobs with wages higher than ever before. Because of Brad Chambers, higher wages are on the way. And only Brad Chambers can keep them coming.
Paid for by Chambers for Indiana. This week at Sullivan Hardware and Garden, see our great selection of grills. We have Weber, Traeger, the Big Green Egg, and all the accessories.
Coming up in 2 minutes, from 1 to 2, how many people were killed in several shootings overnight. Plus, Election Day is tomorrow, and so is a chance for severe weather. And it's the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks again in the NBA playoffs. I'm Kurt Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
Another threat to jail former President Trump. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. From the judge at the first criminal trial. After holding the former president in contempt again for another gag order violation, Judge Juan Merchan also said fines for those violations are not working, so he may have to put former President Trump in jail.
The judge also said the magnitude of that decision is not lost on me. Your continued willful violation of the court's order constitutes a direct attack. It will not be allowed to continue.
Fox's Bill Hemmer, before going into the court in New York, the former president again said he's being wrongly silenced in this criminal case.
It is unconstitutional and it shouldn't be allowed.
As for the case itself,
the whole world is watching this and they see what's happening. More importantly, frankly, they have no case. They have absolutely no case. It's a political hoax. It's election interference.
He's charged with falsifying records and payments to keep an alleged affair quiet before the 2016 election. Former Trump Organization controller Jeff McConney is testifying now. Another clash may be coming on another college campus. Police in riot gear are at the University of California, San Diego, the day after an encampment was cleared at USC. At Columbia in New York, where a tent camp was cleared with a lot of arrests last week, a campus-wide commencement May 15th has been canceled.
It's normally the ceremony where you have the big Class Day speaker that will come and talk to all of the students that are graduating. That is no longer happening.
Fox Business Network's Madison Allworth. As for the war being protested, Israel's warning Palestinian civilians, urging them to evacuate an area of Gaza considered to be Hamas's last stronghold they'll go into. President Biden will talk to Israel's prime minister by phone. He's going to have lunch with Jordan's King Abdullah.
King Abdullah has criticized Israel's tactics in Gaza. President Biden has urged Israel against a major operation in Rafah without a credible plan to protect civilians.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Violence everywhere, 68 degrees and cloudy downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. 2 men shot to death in separate shootings overnight, one being near Illinois and West Morris downtown. It was one of what would end up being 6 shootings across the city in a matter of 4 hours. 4 others were hurt. A man was also found shot in the driveway of a home on the southeast side at around 4 early this morning. Tomorrow is Election Day. In order to vote, you have to have some sort of photo ID.
People have passports. People have their military ID. People, we're issuing free IDs here. We still have time.
Indiana Secretary of State Diego Morales, he tells All Indiana Politics that they will also be working with Homeland Security to make sure that your ballot is counted accurately. The polls open at 6 a.m. local time on Tuesday. The weather is another thing that you should consider as you go vote.
We're going to have more storms developing in the afternoon and evening tomorrow, and with that, all hazards are on the table. So large hail, damaging winds, and maybe even a few tornadoes.
Aaron Updike with the National Weather Service, who says that chance gets even worse on Wednesday. The young toddler found in a pond over the weekend is, in fact, Anna Mundana. The 2-year-old went missing Saturday afternoon, and rescuers found her body in a pond on the south side later that night. Police are still looking into how she ended up in the water. The Indianapolis Colts are optimistic that they will have quarterback Anthony Richardson back soon. His status for OTAs and minicamp are still in question, but Richardson told ESPN over the weekend that he feels full go. It's been fun to watch this year's Indiana Pacers team, says Pacers GM Chad Buchanan.
Couldn't be more proud of, how our guys play and compete and, what our coaches have done with this group.
Talking to The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan, that he's looking forward to seeing how they'll do in the Eastern Conference semifinals against the New York Knicks. Game 1 is tonight at 7:30. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
This hour on 93 WIBC, powered by B&W Plumbing, HVAC, and Electrical, your American Standard air dealer.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Hey!
What?
Great job.
What are you talking about?
No, I want to commend you on your total lack of panic.
My total lack of care.
You have entered your I don't need no man phase of your existence, and it's really playing out. And so what we're talking about here is Kevin, for those of you who are new to the program, it's Kendall and Casey show. My name is Rob. That's Casey. Kevin is our producer. And during the breaks, I just mosey around the property.
Yeah.
Sometimes I stay on this floor. Sometimes I go to other floors. I just kind of walk around and formulate thoughts on the world outside. And then I walk back in here about 3 seconds before we start and say, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And in the past, Casey has been kind of clingy, and she's been kind of attached to the hip to me where she will get in a panic. I'm never late.
No.
I'm always in here.
Yeah, it's true.
There was one time I was late by 2 or 3 seconds because I was working on a story that there was some breaking news that I had to confirm. But other than that, and today, even though Kevin, very dirty trick, I cannot believe it, he would do this the week of Mother's Day.
Yeah, I know. He's stirring the pot, isn't he?
And I was just trying to keep you on your toes.
And Kevin tried to get you all riled up.
Because you weren't in here.
Right.
And it was time for us to come back and rejoin the broadcast. And Kevin looked at me and he goes, hey, where's Rob? Where's Rob? And I said, I don't know.
I was down there with hammers shooting the breeze. We're deciding on what we bet on the We're going to bet on with the Pacers tonight. And I rolled in, as I always do, about 3 seconds before the bumper hit. But no panic. I mean, you were just steel. I mean, there was just steel in your eyes. You were ready, if I had not shown up, to take this thing on your own.
Yeah.
And I just want, you've come so far, Casey.
I know.
And I just want to congratulate you.
Isn't it amazing? You're witnessing the growth. Aren't you just so proud of me?
What are we talking about?
You know, I know you're just loading me up with compliments because I brought you a breakfast.
Yeah, boy.
A breakfast cookie this morning.
Now, for those of you, in the early days of the show, Casey felt like she had to endear herself to us by buying us things.
No. I just wanted you nice and sugared up.
And that stopped at some point due to hyperinflation or whatever.
You know what it was? It was because Costco stopped stocking it.
So you would buy these, they're like cookies or something.
Belvita.
Right? Belvita, thank you. And you said that Jim went to the store over the weekend and they were back.
Yeah. He heard us talking about it, and lo and behold, when he was there, he saw him and he said,
what a guy.
She
thank
needs
you, Jim.
these. I know. So it was a group effort to keep you guys
Thank
happy.
you.
Do you see we're all working together collectively to make your day?
That's great.
Yeah.
And look at the, by the way, I found a guy with a fridge too.
Did you?
Yeah, here's the problem.
They're like, go ahead.
Well, the problem with this is it's tied to meeting you.
Oh.
They don't really care about meeting
you.
me.
Haven't negotiated that.
Yeah, so if you're new to the program, we have a crisis where our vending machine has been removed without notice, so we no longer have access to cold sodas. So one of the solutions we had kind of came up with was people who enjoy the show, buy me sodas.
Right.
And then if I had a place to store them where they wouldn't be stolen, because if we put them in the community fridge, they'll get taken.
Right.
And I said, then maybe a listener has an extra mini fridge.
Yeah.
And one of our listeners has said they have an extra mini fridge and they're prepared, but it's kind of tied to meeting you. They don't really care about me.
Okay, well, we're going to have to negotiate that.
So I just wanted to let you know.
What do I get out of this deal?
Well, you will see. You have a fridge then, a place to store your beverages.
I drink coffee. I don't need a fridge.
You have a fridge.
Hey, let's talk about how much outside groups are spending in the great state of Indiana.
Nuts, isn't it?
So much money that 3 federal primary races, they've landed in the top 10 of most expensive nationwide in the entire country. Here in Indiana, we have 3 of the most expensive. So these are in District 8. The money, $5 million. District 3, $3.8 million. And the Senate race, Jim Banks, $3.6 million.
Yeah, so obviously the Senate race, most of that has been driven by John Rust. When he was a candidate, he was spending a ton of money, and he was, of course, thrown off the ballot, so you don't have anyone to vote for. By the way, let's talk about this real quick before we get into the spending, the insanity of what's going on here. Can we talk about the insanity of our electoral process in Indiana and how just stupid it is? Okay, so John Rust is not allowed to run for U.S. Senate as a Republican because he didn't vote in 2 Republican primaries in a row. He'd voted in 1 Republican primary, but not 2, so you're banned from running. So now you have no competition. Jim Banks will waltz into that U.S. Senate seat with no accountability whatsoever. However, any Democrat that wants to can walk in tomorrow on Election Day and pull a Republican primary ballot and dictate who the Republicans are who get elected, to the point that there's an actual group spending money begging Democrats to vote for Brad Chambers for governor. So you got to vote in X amount of primaries to run as a Republican. However, Democrats can decide which Republicans get elected. Oh, and the likely governor's matchup is going to be Jennifer McCormick against Mike Braun.
Yeah.
That is, Mike Braun was a Democrat who voted Democrat his whole life before running as a Republican for state house, the exact thing John Rust was kicked off the ballot
for doing.
Mm-hmm. And he was a Democrat who became a Republican, running against Jennifer McCormick, who went from Democrat to Republican back to Democrat.
Right.
So that's okay, Casey.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if you, heaven forbid, you actually want to run for public office, if they don't like you, they'll keep you from running for public. Does that make any sense to anyone?
Nope. Okay, so Banks had no competition now. He did have Rust, and there were rumors swirling there for a while that former Governor Mitch Daniels might run, but then Club for Growth put that attack ad out, and he said, "No, I'm not doing this."
Now this is outside money, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like this is outside.
These are all PACs,
right?
Yep.
So, so this is not the actual candidate spending that we're talking about. So the 3rd district, our friend Marlon Stutzman is attempting to make a comeback up there. From all accounts, he's the front runner and is probably going to win. And there's been a whole bunch of money come in against him, and then now there's this judge. Wendy Davis, I think is her name, who has had a whole bunch of money spent against her. She's threatened or is engaging in legal action based on this new state law about artificial intelligence and inaccuracy and ads, and like alleging, I think, that audio has been spliced together. So there's all sorts of shenanigans up there. That's the seat that Banks had that he's vacating to run for Senate. The 8th is the sheet Larry Bouchon is in until he conveniently figured out he's old enough and has enough service to draw his pension, and conveniently is calling it quits right about that time where all that kind of lines up. Probably just a big coincidence, Casey.
Yeah.
And so that seat's open. You've got Hostetler is there trying to make a comeback, who's been around forever, was the former rep down there. By all accounts, he's kind of ahead and is going to win. And so you got 3 or 4 different people that are kind of in the race down there throwing money. The money is insane, Casey. And the outside money, that's what should really, there's 2 kind of things going on here. And I forget who it was. Might have been Capital Chronicle. I don't remember who it was, but somebody did an article. Maybe it was Indy Star. Doesn't matter. Somebody did an article on how the wealthy people running is totally reshaping politics in the state, because it's almost impossible for regular candidates to keep up with the super wealthy people like Brad Chambers and Eric Doden, because they're able to spend so much of their own money. It's created a totally unfair access that the candidates have to voters.
Yeah, you have to be a millionaire to run for office at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, and we've been critical of Curtis Hill not raising any money. Curtis should have raised more money than he did. But even if he'd done a pretty good job, he wasn't going to raise anywhere near what Doden and Chambers were going to raise, because he's not infinitely wealthy. Suzanne Crouch has been somewhat competitive because she spent years building relationships and creating.
And she's good at fundraising.
Right, that's what she did. She was great. She was a great fundraiser when I worked for her when she was state auditor. And so you have this unfair playing field. Now you have these outside groups coming in, and it's like, okay, why are these outside groups spending so much money on these races? And these are the 2 questions I would ask. Why would you, if you're Brad Chambers, want to spend $10 million for a job that pays, I mean, I know the governor got a raise. I don't know what the exact number is now. Let's just say it's $150,000. So you're going to spend $10 million of your own money for a job that pays maybe $600,000. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And then these congressional races, these are Republican primaries. It's not like it's a Republican against a Democrat. You got this money being spent inside of Republican primaries. And what it is telling regular people is that you have almost no chance to win public office, certainly these bigger offices, because you're going to be up against a person who either has infinite money, or you've got these outside groups who are going to pick the people that they like, and then they are going to put the equivalent of infinite money behind them. If you're a regular person, you have almost no chance.
So, and all of that money being spent when there's record low turnout.
Right.
Voter turnout as well.
Look, I have was long a person that said, hey, look, money is freedom of speech. Money is you earned it. You spend it how you want. But when you look at elections, should be fair. Elections should not be bought and paid for. And you look at the access to voters that infinitely wealthy people and these outside groups are creating. You're creating such a disparity. Is that what we want? Where it's the horse trading to get the money, or the horse trading I mean, it's all perfectly legal, right? I mean, we're not saying anything illegal is happening.
Right. It's just an astonishing amount of money.
Is that what you want your elected officials to be? Either infinitely wealthy people who can buy the seat, or people who are essentially lining up with these outside groups before they ever get in there. By the way, I got a mailer. This is fascinating. I got a mailer for Brett Clark, who is this, I call him Big Tax Brett, because when he was sheriff of Hendricks County, he supported all sorts of income tax increases. And Brett, you can badmouth me to other people you want. It's going to get back to me, by the way. Why don't you just come say it to my face? But that aside, I got a mailer from him that came from an outside group, and it had 3 things on it. I think it was like tax cuts, which is laughable, or low taxes or whatever, that a guy who supported all these income tax increases would be for low taxes. And then it was school choice, and it was something else. And that went to my dad's house. My house right next door, somebody screwed up and sent the wrong mailer. It was for another candidate, not in my district, but it's another person. I think this person was running for state house. And the things, it was from the same outside group. They sent it to the wrong house. It's not in my district. But the guy's mailer
looked the same.
Looked identical, was written identical.
It's a template.
The same things were checked. How do you know that so these people are just conveniently for the exact same things? They don't have any difference in things they're for? Or you people, you outside groups, are just basically trying to buy elections for people who you believe will be reliable stooges to do what you want, and you are just pulling stuff out of your ass that you think voters are stupid enough to believe.
Millions of dollars, and you got it. They think we're dumb.
And oftentimes, though, Casey, we reward it, right?
Yep.
I mean, that is, I think that's what it comes down to. So
what they won't pay to continue with their legacy and the power.
All right, let's take a break, Casey. When we come back, we got a very special guest. Now, did you know this, Casey, that I once interviewed the President of the United States?
I have heard that, and it was a great dream.
There's an incredible story behind that. And coming up next, Tony Samuel's going to join us.
The man who's responsible.
Yeah, he's a longtime political guru, consultant, and he is the guy, basically the reason I'm here today. And the past 7 years have been wreaking havoc on the Indiana Republican Party. We're going to thank the guy who made it all possible.
Okay. Tony's going to join us next on 93 WIBC.
Like magic, it appears in the sky. A rainbow. Somewhere over that rainbow lurks not bluebirds or dreams. Hidden behind that beauty is trouble.
Get a cone tornado right there.
Don't be fooled.
Tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornadoes. Oh my gosh, look at it. Oh my God.
This spring, depend on your severe weather station.
Baseball size hail.
93 WIBC.
That moment when you realize you have a serious air conditioner issue. A real strip down to your skivvies, no one's sleeping tonight, head in the freezer fail party. But fear not. There's an expert for that.
Let your local experts at Broad Ripple Service Experts keep you cool. Get worry-free comfort for one low monthly payment.
Want to chill? There's an expert for that.
Call Broad Ripple Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS. See website for license details.
Wealth-changing question. Has your advisor created a portfolio based only on your age and risk tolerance? That's simply not good enough. Your money deserves better, and so do you. At Creative Planning, our private wealth managers learn about you first, and then they create a customized plan and portfolio by partnering with our in-house money managers, accountants, and attorneys. Don't settle for a standard portfolio. Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
Casey, the primary is tomorrow, and, well, I don't know about you. I'm totally ready for it to be over.
Are you?
It's supposed to be like Christmas, but it's been so boring and uneventful. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's here. Special guest in studio. One of the great political minds in all of central Indiana. The great Tony Samuel joins us now. Hello. How are you, sir?
I've never been called great, so thanks for that.
Absolutely.
Good morning, both of you. Thank
Casey,
you for
before we get into Tony's prognostication, what's going to happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Are you ready to go back in the time machine?
Oh, how far back are we going?
Before we bring Tony in, you and me, we're going to go back in the time machine.
Yes.
Now, you may know
Yeah.
I interviewed the president once.
It was a great dream.
That his words, not mine.
Right. He
said
wished all interviews
absolutely
could be like that.
Kind of a career-changing thing for me.
Yeah.
And Tony is the guy who got me that interview.
Oh, you're the one who's responsible.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because, after Rob did that interview with Donald Trump is when he came to WIBC.
That's right.
So we can either give you the credit or the blame.
Yeah. I guess you could look at it either way.
So
Now,
how did you hook that up?
well, if you remember back in 2016, I was the vice chair to the Indiana Trump campaign. Rex Hurley was the chairman. And we traveled around the state, and we didn't need to because we knew Trump was going to win Indiana, but we wanted to. Rex was a former Republican state chairman, a great friend. And we did that, and I was working with the campaign on the national level on calls every morning, that kind of thing, with their communications team. And when Trump was coming in for the last rally, and he had like 8 rallies between late April and the primary. And the day before, I was asked if I wanted to invite any media to do interviews. And I was able to invite you and Kevin Rader from Channel 13, and we were at the JW from what I remember.
He did not tell Kevin Rader he was a great dream. I think I was the only person you got told.
You're so exclusive.
No, I think he was really happy with your interview, and you and I had talked at a couple of rallies, and we'd met, I think years before that. You're a good friend, so thank you both for
Do you
for
have
having me on.
any? Are you working with the Trump campaign this time around?
Well, I've offered. I'd like to. I'll do what I can. I've told them that they really don't need a whole lot in Indiana. They've teamed up with the Banks campaign, which makes perfect sense. Jim Banks is going to be our next U.S. senator, and he'll do a great job. So I will if I can. I'd like to, after this primary is over, maybe see what I can do on the national level. In 2020, they didn't need a campaign here, but I was working with the RNC, and I was doing radio interviews over the phone with different stations across the country.
So you bring up a good point that they don't need the help. Obviously, he's going to be the candidate. What do you say to the Republicans who maybe aren't on board with Donald Trump?
Yeah, and there's still a few of those, unfortunately. It's funny, you see all these ads where everybody's a Trump fan now when they need the vote, because the vote is there for Trump because the general public, and especially the Republican
Does
Party.
that anger you? Because you were a ground floor guy in 2016, and and all those people weren't back then.
Yeah, it does. Anger might be too strong a word, but it annoys a little bit, because when the media is on it, which the majority of the media is always trying to take him out, a lot of the Republicans are silent. But when it comes to election time and they need that Trump vote, especially here in Indiana, they come out, and then it's all Trump all the time. And I get it. That's what political consultants will tell them to do, and that's what they should do. But they should do it, around the clock throughout the years, and we would have been a lot better off, and he would have probably. There would have been no doubt about that 2020 election.
There has to be a message other than he's not Biden. So what is that message?
Well, the message is look at all the things that he accomplished in the 4 years with one arm tied behind his back, if you remember the impeachments and all of that, sort of thing, the Russia hoax. But our economy was roaring. He was taking care of, national defense. He was building up our military. He was working on the border. Now you look at all the problems that are coming across the border with fentanyl and drugs and crime. And he had it right. In 2015, when I first started getting interested, when he came down the escalator and talked about the border, and everybody, the media jumped all over him. He had it right way back then, worked on it, was obstructed by the Democrats in Congress, still got, a lot of what he wanted to accomplish done, but could have finished the job. And then, the 2020 election happened. And again, Republicans could have helped a lot more back then. Now we're paying the price, and now everybody's jumping on board, but it'll get done if he's elected.
Real quick, let me introduce our guest. He's Tony Samuel, one of the great political minds, and of course, probably Tony's greatest accomplishment, Casey, launching my radio career, getting me that interview with Trump in 2016.
I was happy to do it.
How much crap do you get for that? Like, how the party feels about me, and it's basically your fault.
Well, now they're hearing it again. They might have forgot. So I imagine maybe my phone will start ringing.
Put that behind him.
Hey, no, I'm proud of that. Actually, I'm happy that I was able to help. you'd have been here anyway. You do a great job, I think. Both of you do. Thank you for having me again.
So Casey and I told we want to have Tony on because, and full disclosure, I think you're supporting Suzanne, right? In the primary.
I've known Suzanne a long time. She's a great person, and I am supporting her.
But you've been around Indiana politics and government for more than 20 years, and you know the lay of the land. I just thought it'd be great to have Tony come in. Are you surprised at how kind of uneventful the governor's primary has been? Like Casey and I were talking from the beginning. Oh, great, it's 6, and you've got flamethrowers like Curtis Hill, and you've got Suzanne who's going to be on a revenge tour, and you got Braun with infinite money, and oh my gosh, the ads are going to be. It's kind of been boring.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're like looking at it from the inside, not as boring. But when you think about the general public and they've got other things to do and distractions and busy with work life, taking care of the kids, that kind of thing. Yeah, probably boring for most of the general public. And then you see, that they're seeing the ads and they're seeing a lot of negative ads, but not just in the governor's race, but in the congressional races as well. But a lot of these folks that are getting hit or doing the hitting, the general public doesn't know who they are. So you got to wonder, what's the general public really thinking? Well, it's probably going to turn a lot of people off. We're looking at, it's going to be a low turnout from what I hear from the early voting. And now we're expecting thunderstorms tomorrow. So, I think that helps Suzanne Crouch. And I think she's the one candidate that's done it the right way, not a bunch of personal money, not throwing millions of dollars at the race, but raising it the way you're supposed to, having a great grassroots campaign and then all the things she's done at the local and state level.
Some of the things that I've been hearing, the rumors right now, because I haven't seen any direct polling to indicate this, but I'm sure other people have, that Braun's numbers are starting to fall just a bit and Suzanne Crouch is surging. Are you surprised at this point that there are still 6 people running on the GOP side?
Well, I think this question's come up with folks kind of that are involved in would somebody drop out? Well, they're not going to. I don't think there was any chance of anyone dropping out when they put so much money and time early on, and then the folks that aren't able to raise the funds, Curtis Hill and Jamie Reitnauer, they've got a following, they've got a base, they're motivated themselves. So and I'm not surprised that nobody dropped out. But we'll see what happens. It is going to be a vote that's going to be split 6 ways. A couple of candidates won't get that many, and then many votes as much as I'd like. Obviously, a couple of candidates that are spending a lot of money, I don't think will do as well as that money, as well as they would have thought with spending those just enormous amounts of dollars.
By all accounts, it seemed like Brad Chambers was Eric Holcomb's guy. Were you surprised that Holcomb chose not to endorse anyone?
I was a little surprised in that I know, the folks that moved over from the Holcomb team, the Holcomb political team to Brad Chambers, that was an early sign that this was Governor Holcomb's guy. But he chose not to. I think that shows that Brad Chambers' numbers just didn't get close enough in that range where Holcomb would have endorsed.
Can you imagine losing $10 million? I mean, you're doing very well, Tony, but can you imagine wasting $10 million, which is what Chambers is going to basically do?
Yeah, can't imagine. Both him and Doden. And I don't know how much money Braun has put in of his personal wealth, but he did that in 2018, as you remember, when he kind of split it up the middle and beat the 2 congressmen. I think he spent $7.5 million back then. And I'm sure he's putting
I wanted to ask you real quick. Do negative ads, like this is your world. Tony Samuel's our guest. He's a great political consultant, been around Indiana politics and government for 20 plus years. Do negative ads work? Like, I mean, that's like the Goodrich and Sparts ads are just like ridiculous at this point. They're not about policy a lot of times. Like, do they work?
Yeah, we've seen some things this time around that we haven't seen before. They say they work and they keep doing them. So I think they do. You've got political consultants and pollsters, and a lot of times, if a campaign's going to spend a lot of money on these guys, then they're going to listen to them, and that's where you see the negative ads. That's also where you see Braun only relying on the Trump endorsement and not going out there and talking about a vision or a plan for Indiana, because they feel like their numbers are so good with his name ID that the Trump endorsement, saying that over and over again, is all they need. But I think voters are smarter than that, and I think voters want to hear what you're going to do for the state.
Does it surprise you? So Rob and I were talking about this earlier, that Indiana has 3 of the top 10 most expensive races in the country. Does that shock you that it's Indiana? And why is that, do you think?
Yeah, it's a trend, I think, that's not good for the voter in general, because you get exactly what I just mentioned. You get candidates that can put in all kinds of money, but not talk to the voter enough on what they're going to do. So, I like the way, again, that Suzanne's done it. She's been a grassroots campaigner. She's come up through, being a local county official, a state rep, a state auditor, lieutenant governor, and over about like 200 endorsements, 30 to 40 from law enforcement, that kind of thing.
Before I let you go, Tony Samuel was our guest today. May the 20th, Casey, we talked about this earlier. You and I, we're going to be putting our Sunday best back on.
Right.
We're going to be doing another event with Micah Beckwith. That first one, they literally had people out the door. And so they said...
They were there to see you.
Oh,
clearly.
absolutely. No doubt.
You and Micah.
And so Tony is actually hosting the event for Micah that we're going to do on May the 20th.
Nice.
So thanks for inviting me. I mean, that's a huge risk.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until afterwards.
He didn't know he was inviting you.
No. I saw Micah last week and saw Rob there at Micah's church and invited Rob. And then we talked about it and said, hey, wouldn't it be great to have you guys as the special guest? So I want to thank you both for doing that on May 20th. I've gotten to know Micah over the last year, and, we've gotten lunch several times, gotten to know him. I really like him. I think what he's doing is smart. I think it's good for the party, and I'll be supporting him.
All right. We'll see on the 20th. But again, Tony, and I can't say this clearly enough, thank you for helping me establish this very wonderful platform. And I hope no one ever holds that against you. But, man, thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It's not happening. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. Commencement ceremonies at Columbia have been canceled.
So think about that. That's the large ceremony where you would have all the different schools, undergraduate, graduate, etc., that are honored together. That's normally the ceremony where you have the big Class Day speaker that will come and talk to all of the students that are graduating. That is no longer happening, and we're being told on background that it does have to do with the safety concerns around the protests that have been happening here on Columbia's campus.
Fox's Madison Allworth. President Biden is set to hold a call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. The call comes as Israel is gearing up for a military operation in the city of Rafah in Gaza, which is a move that the Biden administration has advocated against for months. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
When life happens, Michelis happens to help you through it. That includes water, storms, fire, and the whole insurance mess. Working hand in hand with the claims adjuster, Michelis is your advocate, your voice, your local trusted advisor for cleaning up, building back, and moving forward when disaster strikes. Now that is an insurance policy. Make it Michelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Chapters of this story take a whole month to tell. This is May. It starts with twists and turns on the IMS road course for the Sancio Grand Prix. Then PPG presents Armed Forces Indy 500 qualifying in the fight for the pole position. May continues with Indy's biggest party, Miller Lite Carb Day. And all roads lead to the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge. May is yours. May is ours. This is May. Buy now and save. Get tickets at IMS.com.
This week at Sullivan Hardware and Garden, get 30% off all patio furniture, wicker, Berlin Gardens, poly, cast aluminum, teak, and more.
Sinus pressure, congestion, snoring, being unable to sleep, being unable to breathe. Yep, it's another sinus infection. You've Googled, watched videos, tried over-the-counter sprays, medications, and home remedies, but nothing ever works. There must be some kind of treatment that can help, right? Indianapolis Sinus Center understands how draining it can be when you try treatment after treatment without any relief. That's why they've been serving and treating the community for over 50 years. Indianapolis Sinus Center has performed thousands of procedures and helped thousands of patients find lasting relief they didn't know was possible. Patients like you. If you've had enough of sinus pain, pressure, and congestion, schedule a visit with Indianapolis Sinus Center today. Call 317-528-9650 and take the first step toward breathing easy. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650 or visit IndianapolisSinusCenter.com.
Tony Katz here, and if you know me, you know I like my bourbon, and just like you, I like a good deal. So let me tell you about Hotel Tango Bourbon. Hotel Tango is a distillery right here in Indianapolis, started by Travis Barnes, a Marine who served 3 tours in Iraq. He wanted to craft spirits with the same discipline he learned in the Marine Corps. That's what Hotel Tango does. I've tried his bourbon. It's wonderful. It's a 4-grain bourbon with a distinct mash bill. You get a little caramel and some of that aroma. You get a nice rye kick to balance it out. I'm not the only one who thinks it's good. Wine Enthusiast gave it a 94, and it won a gold at the San Francisco Spirits Competition. It's also under $40. Did I mention that? One of the 10 best bourbons under $40, according to Wine Enthusiast. Try it for yourself. Head down to wherever you buy fine spirits and try Hotel Tango for yourself. You'll be supporting local, supporting veterans, and getting yourself a great, sippable, enjoyable bourbon at a great price. Thanks to Hotel Tango for sponsoring the show. Hotel Tango, distilled with discipline. HotelTangoDistillery.com.
Bill Frazier is a Hoosier, an American, who has served our citizens with distinction, determination, and a wisdom that comes with years of experience. Now, Bill Frazier is ready to dedicate his life to serving you as your next congressman in Indiana's 6th District. Bill Frazier is a true conservative. He'll fight for a secure border, smaller government, and lower taxes. He will be a tireless advocate for the Second Amendment and the rights of the unborn. Bill Frazier is a veteran paratrooper, a successful farmer and business owner, a licensed commercial jet pilot, a man with experience. When President Ronald Reagan needed expert advice on agricultural issues, he called on a young Hoosier farmer, Bill Frazier. Ronald Reagan trusted Bill Frazier. You can too. Vote for experience and determination. Vote for the true conservative Hoosier. Vote for Bill Frazier for Congress.
I'm Bill Frazier, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Bill Frazier.
A quick question for dads. Is your child's school providing them with the skills they'll need to succeed in the real world? Do you feel like they're safe when they go to school? Do you worry about bullying and drugs? Are they getting a solid foundation in the basics, core subjects like math, reading, and science? How about after-school programs? Does your child have access to quality activities like clubs, arts, and sports? If the neighborhood school isn't working for your child, they're not stuck where they are. You and your child have options. You may not know this, but your child could get a voucher worth approximately $6,000 for tuition at a private school. For real, over 70,000 Indiana kids already have. Don't settle for less when it comes to your child's education. Get your child the education they deserve. Make a choice. Make a change. Visit myschooloptions.org. That's myschooloptions.org.
Paid for by the Institute for Quality Education.
Springtime Blues? B&W Plumbing, HVAC, and Electrical is your go-to team. Visit bplusw.com/radio. Your comfort is their priority. B&W is your independent American Standard Air dealer.
For the biggest selection of Mother's Day gifts, shop Cynthia's Hallmark at 116th and Allisonville Road, 116th and Brook School Road, 96th and Lantern Road in Fishers, and in Greenfield.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
It was a photo finish, but at the end,
just give me anything?
Dan Fogelberg.
Yes.
Run for the Roses.
Just give me like 10 seconds. I don't ask for much.
Yes, you do.
What a beautiful voice, right? You can do whatever you want now. Okay. I mean, it's already, the mojo's kind of out of that.
Yeah, I already ruined it for you.
It's the perfect Kentucky Derby song.
Yeah, Dan
Run for the
Fogelberg.
Roses.
Right.
Yeah.
Another
Mystic
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan's.
And Mystic Dan won the Kentucky Derby.
Yes, by a nose, by a nostril hair. It was the first time in 28 years that it was won by a nose, and just the 10th time ever. And I thought the interesting thing about the Derby this year was that they were all long shots that were 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Did you bet? Did you throw some coinage on the race?
I did not. However, we all picked our horses.
Yeah.
And I picked Resilience, so I think came in 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
The dude picked Forever Young, and that was pretty close, but then fell behind. And my daughter actually picked Mystic Dan.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it was like 18 to 1.
It was 18 to 1.
Started at 20 to 1.
We were like, oh, if you would only put $100 or 1,000 or 100,000. Imagine if you put $1 million on it.
Do you do that with your bets that you don't make that win? Oh, I really should have.
I really wish that I would have put money on there.
I probably would have gone with, if we go by horse names, Forever Young, because that's, of course, a Rod Stewart song.
Correct.
Which I believe he got into some legal trouble with Bob Dylan over, because Bob Dylan had a song also called Forever Young.
Okay, well, let's go with how you find your horse name. Are you ready for this?
Can I just say something? Does anybody know in the horse racing community, is Pat Day still alive? Pat Day was a famous jockey when I was a kid, and my grandmother, who was very good at betting horses, my grandmother had an amazing gift, Casey. She was great at betting horses and bingo. And what we determined later on the bingo side of it was she would go to like the local club, Eagles Club, and play bingo. And all these women had all these cards, but they would talk so much that they weren't paying attention, that my grandmother won a lot at bingo simply because she was there to do business, simply by just paying attention to her card. And that was how we determined she was one of the great bingo players at the Terre Haute Eagles Club history, was just simply having laser attention to her card.
Pat Day is still alive. He's 70.
So he's probably not jockeying anymore.
No, I can't
But my
imagine.
grandmother always used to bet on whatever horse Pat Day was on, and it seemed like she won a hell of a lot of bets betting on Pat Day.
My dad would do that too. He would have his favorite jockeys.
Yeah, she was totally convinced that the jockey had something to do with it. And I know nothing about horse racing, but yeah.
One of the first years that Hall of Famer Bob Baffert wasn't there.
Who?
He's
that's the guy. Did he get caught up in the scandal mania?
the 2-year ban.
Yeah.
That extends through this year, so he wasn't there as well. And the horse that won, Mystic Dan, now going to go on its quest for the Triple Crown and race at Preakness.
Okay, so I did something over the week, and you tell me if I'm weird, and then we'll go to a break, okay?
But I want to know your horse name first.
Oh, what is it? How do we do it?
Okay, you say the last thing you ate plus your father's first name.
So the last thing I ate, like, it would be that thing you gave me. Is that a cookie? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
So it'd be Cookie Mike.
Cookie Mike. That would be your Derby horse name.
Yeah.
What's yours, Kevin?
Mine would be Strawberry Phil.
That sounds like an actual horse. Mine would be Applebread Leonard. Applebread. It's like banana bread.
Okay,
with
so
apples. All right, what'd you do?
I was in preparation for the Kentucky Derby watching old videos of Secretariat, and I got on, is it the Belmont that he won by 31 lengths, where he was just like, the whole, there was no one even in the screenshot of him. And I'm watching this from 1973, and I'm like, I got teary-eyed watching that. Is that weird that I did that?
Why'd you get teary-eyed?
Well, it's just so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and people will fight me on this. Horses are athletes. I say that Secretariat is one of the 5 greatest athletes of all time, and people get weird about that. Is that weird that I think a horse is an athlete? I think that may be the greatest athletic accomplishment ever. That horse, there was literally nobody in the shot. They did the wide shot of that horse coming down
by himself.
Coming down the
Have you
straightaway.
ever seen the statue
of Secretariat?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh,
Where's
huge.
Where's it at?
It's in Lexington.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe. It's Lexington.
Because he didn't win the Kentucky Derby that year by that much. It was pretty close. And Sham, who's the horse, was the same age. Sham could have been one of the greatest horses of all time had he not been the exact same age as Secretariat.
Now, I wonder what would happen if you put Strike Rich or Rich Strike.
It wouldn't have mattered.
One from 2 years ago.
You
who
could have
came from last to win it.
You could have put a unicorn with the thing coming out of his nostril, and it wouldn't have beaten Secretariat.
Yep. Well, congratulations to Mystic Dan for pulling it out this year. That was an incredibly close race. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. It's 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel Show back at it. Pacers, big game tonight. We'll have the top stories in Indy. We're going to laugh. We're going to have a good time. We'll talk to you at 3, 93 WIBC.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends and family at Life Church. And I say friends and family because that's the way you feel the moment you walk in the door at Life Church, like a friend and like a member of the family. And, you know, Mother's Day is coming up Sunday, and this Sunday, Life Church would love the opportunity to meet and welcome you and your mother. Yeah, that's right. Over the years, many WIBC listeners have found a home at Life Church and meet them all the time at Life Church. And you can see for yourself why. They're warm, they're welcoming. They have campuses all across central Indiana, Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, in addition to awesome online services. Learn more about it all, lifechurchin.com.
Raju, shades of red, white, and blue. Guarding dreams for all, he believes in you.
Raju Chinthala is a healthcare professional, a successful businessman, and a community leader with experience. Raju is ready to be your next congressman in the 5th District. Raju for you.
Raju, shades of red, white, and blue.
Raju is a family man ready to represent your family with Hoosier values. And he's a man of action, ready to get things done. Vote for Raju Chinthala, Republican 5th District Congress.
Raju, shades of red, white, and blue. Guarding dreams for all, he believes in you.
I'm Raju Chintala, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Raju for Congress.
Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndieHomebuyer.com. No inspection, no fuss. We only need to see it once. The IndieHomebuyer.com. Problem properties, tenants don't pay. Just hand us some keys and your problems go away. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndieHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndieHomebuyer.com.
No matter your reason for selling, the IndieHomebuyer.com will pay cash for your house in any condition. If you're dealing with deadbeat tenants, big repairs, or inheritance, the IndieHomebuyer.com is the solution. No hassle, no inspections. The IndieHomebuyer.com.
Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndieHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndieHomebuyer.com.
On a map, the southern border is 1,000 miles away, but that's not how it feels to my family. I grew up in a blue-collar home in Richmond. My dad was a factory worker. He was laid off twice. Not because the factory was doing poorly, but because it was cheaper to move those jobs across the border. I'm Jamison Carrier. Today, it's not what's leaving across the border that's devastating our families, it's what's coming in. And once again, it's personal. My wife and I lost our son Joey to fentanyl, a tragedy that's become far too common. To President Biden, secure the border is just a talking point. But to our family, it's life and death. I'm Jamison Carrier. I'm a business owner, a native Hoosier, and a Trump Republican. And we can't wait another day to secure our border and put Americans first. I'm Jamison Carrier, and I approve this message.
Jamison Carrier for Congress. Paid for by Carrier for Congress, Inc.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
That moment when you realize you have a serious air conditioner issue. A real strip down to your skivvies, no one's sleeping tonight, head in the freezer fail party. But fear not. There's an expert for that.
Let your local experts at Broad Ripple Service Experts keep you cool with $50 off any repair.
Wanna chill? There's an expert for that.
Call Broad Ripple Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS. See website for license details.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
Are you ready for retirement? According to a recent survey, probably not. It is Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Of course, you want to retire comfortably. That's the goal, right? Well,
not happening.
AARP says that 1 in 4 U.S. adults age 50 and older never expect to retire. 70% are concerned about prices increasing faster than their income. And Go Banking Rates did a study, and they found out that you're going to need about $1.1 million to fund a 25-year retirement.
No way you'll be able to make it on $1.1 million for my generation. There's no way. This training that kid yesterday at the golf course. He was at that Kelly School of Business, and we were just chatting about economics and things he's learning. And I said, you think about like my parents' generation, and they are probably the last generation, the boomers, who will be able to retire with some level of comfortability. Like I look at those guys that play at the golf course, and they live what I would call a comfortable life in retirement. Many of them, they don't live in mansions, but they go and play golf every day, or they go to the store. They go on vacations. They don't live, they're not Jeff Bezos, but they have retired with a relative level of lack of worry that their house is paid for and that their food is going to be bought, and they have some hobbies and lifestyles, etc. I don't think that's going to happen for the overwhelming majority of my generation. And I think certainly not Kevin. And I was telling this kid, you're totally screwed. And it's the lack of, and these politicians will not have an honest conversation with us about what they've done to us and about how we fix it. You always talk about the 3-step process, right? And a big part of that is owning the mistake in order to be able to fix the mistake. And there's no semblance of we've made a mistake even to have any sort of corrective action taking place.
Well, because they don't think they've made a mistake. It's all good. They're just going to keep on doing it, as you've been told by one of our senators, Todd Young.
Yeah, and so if you're never going to take the corrective action, if you're never going to admit the mistake, there's never going to be corrective action. So the obvious ending, unless there is some sort of revolution at the ballot box in this country, is that things will just continue to get markedly more expensive, and there will continue to be a disparaging gap between the super rich and people are being priced out of the middle class, and that's what's most concerning. It's not that people are not being able to elevate themselves into the upper class. That's bad enough, because if you're willing to work hard, you should be able to elevate yourself up to another class. If you have a certain amount of skill sets and you're willing to work hard, that dream is going away. Now the question is, how many people are going to be forced out of the middle class? Because, again, there's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
There's only so many hours in the day to work, and if you're raising kids, like, when do you have time to live?
So the median retirement savings account balance in the U.S. for all families is $87,000.
That's the savings account balance.
For retirement on
that's
a little short of 1.1 million.
It's not going to get you very far.
Okay, so are you ready for what you should have for your current age?
Yes.
If you want to retire on time.
Yep.
How old are you? You're just turned 40,
Yeah,
right?
I'm 40. 40.
So you're in the 35 to 44 bracket.
Yep.
You should have $141,520 saved for your retirement right now.
Yeah.
Kevin should have $49,130. That's for people.
How much?
$49,130. That's for people under the age of 35. Now, if you're between the 45 and 54 group, you should have $313,220 saved. And if you're 55 to 64, $537,560. And if you're 65 and older, you should have $609,000.
All right. Tomorrow's Election Day. I know many people will be listening to us on Election Day, but if I might just take the final minute here or so and just make a little request to the people at large.
What do you got?
I have 2 requests for people on Election Day tomorrow. If you are sick of the crap that's going on in this state and this country, you have the ability to do something about it tomorrow. But you have to take control of the situation, and there are 2 ways that you can take control of the situation. Number 1, figure out who these delegates are and which one of these delegates are going to vote for Micah Beckwith at convention. And if you just go to Micah's website, he's made it super easy for you by county. It's not a full list, obviously, but he can give you names. And it's micahbeckwith.com. There's a Micah's pick selection. I am sick of the crap in this state, and I'm ready for somebody to fight back. That's the number 1 thing, if you love this show and you love me, that you can do tomorrow. And number 2, at the State House and the State Senate level, vote against all the incumbents. If you have somebody that is on the ballot that has been in office at the State House or the State Senate level, vote against that person. We have to stop this at some point. If you're sick of the property tax stuff, if you're sick of the government spending, if you're sick of the gas tax, these people are like addicts. They're incapable of fixing it or stopping it themselves. You have to put new people into the process.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you for listening today. We'll catch you back here tomorrow on Primary Day. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon. You wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
Our Cookie Two-Step Ice Cream is a creamy vanilla ice cream with hints of brown sugar, chunks of chocolate cream-filled cookies, and tasty chocolate chip cookie dough pieces. Cookie Two-Step has everybody's taste buds two-stepping, and 1 and 2.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell Ice Cream at Walmart Supercenters and Walmart Neighborhood Markets.
President Trump knows if you need backup to get a job done, you need a fighter. That's why President Trump is endorsing proven conservative combat veteran Jim Baird. Baird served our nation in the United States Army and was awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze with Valor Star. And when Baird got home, he didn't stop serving us. Jim Baird worked as a farmer and small business owner, creating jobs and growing our economy. Then Baird served Indiana as a state representative where he fought to safeguard our community. Now Baird is serving Hoosiers in Congress and will partner with President Trump to secure our border, build the wall, deport criminal illegal aliens, curb inflation, cut government spending, defend our God-given Second Amendment rights, and defeat the radical left. Help send President Trump the backup he needs to drain the swamp. Send Trump-endorsed conservative combat veteran Jim Baird for Congress.
I'm Jim Baird, and I approve this message. Paid for by elect Jim Baird for Congress.
Hey, Mom. Hi, honey. Mom, I'm glad you figured out the video call. What's all that noise? Is it your connection?
No, just doing a few things to the house. Your room will soon be a fitness studio.
My room? What? Well, what's that noise? Is that your Wi-Fi?
Oh, that. Your father's taken up the electric guitar. We're remodeling the basement for his jam sessions.
Jam sessions? Mom, are you guys okay? That's a lot of changes.
I'm just making some upgrades, and it's the home equity line of credit from Lake City Bank. The low fixed rate is helping us get things checked off our list. Oh, hon, gotta go. The hot tub is here.
The what? Mom?
Use Lake City Bank's home equity line of credit for anything from remodels to guitar lessons. Learn more at lakecitybank.com. Call 888-522-2265 or visit a branch near you. Subject to credit approval and equal housing lender.
There are more identity threats